Good morning, Xbox. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 6 of Good Morning Xbox. I'm your host, Mr. Boom Boom Kaboom. I hope everybody is doing well. Sorry for the bit of a late start on the show. We're still missing a panel member. He seems to be MIA, but hopefully he shows up here momentarily. It's going to be a great one for you this morning. We have got our very first ever special guest on this podcast, and he's someone that is near and dear to the hearts of many in this community. Yes, we've heard his name many times. But we're going to introduce him in just one moment. First, let's get to the panel, and I'll start off with the one, the only Coolcat Terri, who is sporting a brand new Series X beanie, looking fantastic as always. Terri, how you been since last week's Dynamite 3-hour plus show?
I've been pretty good. It was a lot of things to cover for sure, with all the different showcases between E3 as well as Summer Games Fest. But it was definitely a fantastic week at the same time. So I had a good time. Lots of stuff to go over.
There is a lot to digest. Speaking of digesting things, someone who makes your bowels rumble. It is Cerebral Paul.
Let me unmute my mic. Speaking of rumbling bowels, hi, good morning. Yep, I'm recovering from E3. E3 recovery mode. It was a great week, though. Wonderful.
Yes.
Week. Hope everybody's ready for an exciting show.
Yeah, we got a lot to get into, indeed. And shout out to all the content creators this past week. Many people were working some overtime here, really putting in the work, and some fabulous coverage as well. So shout out to all of them out there. Too many to mention, but let's get into more content creators and the people that make this tick. Hey, he's coming in late, but he's always great. It's the one, the only eternal Shaddai.
Good morning, everybody. Even in the panel, sorry, have some technical issues. I know they're a weekend like that. But I hope everybody had a great E3 week and also weekend.
Good. All right, and let's get into our next panel member who had his graphic artwork as well done by the fabulous one who will introduce. It's Axel1324.
Good morning, everybody. How are you this morning? Sorry about that. My wife is over here trying to sabotage my stream as we speak, which is fine, which is great. But we'll get into it. And yeah, I did get my artwork done by Graphic God. Everybody knows that I'm a fan of his work, and I can't wait to get into the games and into talking with our guest. There we go. Morning show.
Last but not least, we got lots of love for the one we know as Scrub. Here he is, Scrub and Nurse. What's going on?
Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody in the chat, the panel. We're going to talk Xbox games. We got Graphic God in the building. I'm excited, ready to go. E3 was great. Let's get to these topics.
And apparently this is Father's Day, if I'm not mistaken. So a big shout out to all of you wonderful sperm donors out there. We hope that you're having a fantastic day and a great weekend. Yes,
I had a greeting for that, but I can't use it on this show. So yeah.
All right. And let's before we bring out our special guest, quick shout out to our amazing chat. We had a super chat. First thing comes in from the one, the only, our biggest supporter, I think, so far on this show, Mr. Doggy Dog 420. Doggy Dog, good morning. Casket Repair is in the house. We've got Mass Hole here. What's going on, Mass Hole? And then I'm sure people will come in as the day progresses. Scrubs is in the house. What's going on? Stubbs Gaming. Stubbs, how are you? Good to see you here. It's been a while. It's been a long minute. All right, and let's bring in our next guest. So we are going to have to bounce out, and since he was the last one in, we're gonna put him the first one out. All right, let's get over and add in our guest of the day. It's the one, the only, the man with the most from the east coast of Canada. My brother, my friend, Graphic God is in the house. People, give it up. All hail Jay.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much for the invite, Newf. This was awesome. Yes, it's Father's Day. I'm actually got my dad goals cup that I'm drinking my coffee out of. Appreciate being here. Appreciate everyone showing up, and really pleased with the warm welcome from your panel. I know some. I don't know all. Thank you very much, and let's get going.
Let's get going. Indeed. All right, so let's get right down to the nitty gritty. E3 is past us now. We've seen a lot of big presentations. As a matter of fact, last week we spent over 3 hours trying to go through every single game that was shown at the Xbox E3 showcase. And there were some real gems, some surprises. But all together, is it safe to say, panel, that we can finally put to rest this Xbox got no games BS we've heard for so long?
We can put it to rest. I don't know if anybody else will. Next will be Xbox has no games on PlayStation. So, but I'm definitely happy.
No, we still get Xbox has no first party games.
Yeah,
so as
no
far as
first
they're
party
concerned,
game.
yeah.
Oh, I thought they were changing it to Xbox got your games now.
That's right. Not only does Xbox have games, but Xbox has your games. It's awesome.
No, I think it's time to put that one to rest, man. Xbox showed off a lot of and you know what? Xbox at least showed up. Yep. That's what you got to say. At least they showed up, unlike Scaredy Cats, the biggest competitor, who always just seems to it's not important enough to do this show anymore. Like, you know what? We're going to give you a big middle finger to that one. Sorry, that's language I usually reserve for Gaming After Dark. But I think overall it's a bit of a slap in the face to fans. I still consider E3 Christmas. But you know what? We're going to talk about that too. That's going to be one of our debates today. Is E3 still relevant? So we're going to get to that as well. Pure Flack Monkey is in the house. Fastback is here with us. There we go. We got some of our NLG brothers already in the house. That's good to see them here this morning. All right. So let's just talk about what we really liked, to summarize, at least for the Xbox show itself. Let's kind of go back over that. We'll start with Coolcat Terri. Terry, what stood out to you most from the Xbox showcase now that you've had a little bit more time to digest what we've seen? Perhaps you even watched the trailers in 4K now.
No, I didn't watch it in 4K, just because I don't have a reason. I don't have a 4K TV or monitor, so it'd be a waste of my time.
Somebody that's going to go fund me going for this girl.
4K's not standard yet. Okay, well, a lot of people don't have it.
What? I wouldn't say it's not standard. I would just say a lot of people don't have it.
That would mean it's not standard then if a lot of people don't have it.
Terry was caught lacking in 1080p. Sorry.
Can we lower the resolution now on Terry's face only for the rest of the podcast? It's going to be grainy, all pixelated. But anyway, regardless of the resolution, obviously you definitely got to see some great games on display, and I know you highlighted a few as well last week. So just kind of summarize what you really like there.
I mean, just for the Xbox side, I mean, they had a lot of great stuff, Psychonauts 2 and things like that, but, people are already coming at me for, saying Psychonauts 2, they're like, yeah, but that's multiplayer, you can't have that one. Like, well, you know what? Shove it. I can have it because it's on Xbox too, so it's still mine, So, share it. Sharing is carried. Psychonauts 2 definitely was really, really cool. Replaced, we talked about that quite a bit last week. Replaced looked phenomenal. So I'm definitely excited to see that game. I mean, that's kind of there's some others as well, but I mean, it's just most of the games that are on the top of my list that I'm excited for weren't part of the Xbox showcase, so I'll save them.
Okay, sounds good. Now let's move right along here. I'm just bouncing through some screens, and let's get over to Cerebral Paul if he's still in the building. I know his.
I'm still here.
Okay. All right.
I figure people don't need to watch me coughing and choking all day. I have this cough thing that I haven't been able to get rid of for like a month, and it's really starting to drive me crazy. So.
It's all good, Paul. It's all good, man. Anyway, hopefully you got it out of your system. So, how about you, man? What really stood out from the Xbox show to you?
A lot of stuff that stood out for everybody else. We finally got a look at Starfield, which, by the way, if anybody didn't see my post last night, it's come out that everything we saw was in engine. By the way. It was not. There were no cinematic tricks to pull that off. It was all in engine for the game. So it looks really good. Of course, then there's that vampire one they unveiled at the end is the one that really I came away with going, okay, that's cool, because I wasn't expecting that at all. Everybody can say, Forza looked awesome. Didn't expect anything less. Flight Simulator looked awesome. I didn't expect anything less. The vampire game, whose name is escaping me right now.
Redfall.
I wasn't expecting that.
Redfall.
Redfall just looks like and it looks like fun. It doesn't look like you're serious, you know, everybody's kind of stoic vampire game. It looks like they had a lot of fun putting that together. And I've been the D&D game also looks really good.
Yes.
And I can't talk about it, but I have been playing the demo and it looks amazing. And it plays amazing too. And in fact, hopefully that's not the whole game that I have, because I'm gonna, by the time I finish it, it's gonna release and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Isn't that the one that comes to Game Pass on day one as well?
Yeah, it's coming in a couple days. As a matter of fact, I think the 22nd.
Wow.
Yeah, 22nd Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. Good.
I don't know if you want me to speak about the other side of.
No, we'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
We'll get back to more to the Square Enix and those presentations. Let's get down to our special guest, since he's next on the radar here, Mr. Graphic God. Jay, you've had a chance to sort of check out some of the show. Was anything that stood out to you from Xbox's presentation? Would you say it's safe to say it's one of their best shows in years? Some people seem to think so. Other people are like giving it 5s and 6s, which I think you're absolutely must be out to lunch if you thought it was that low, but.
No, they put on an amazing show. They showed game after game. The pacing was great. The games that stood out for me were kind of the same games that stood out for a lot of people. Of course, we've got our Halo, which I think, given another year in the oven, really showed, and the showing the multiplayer and showing the different aspects of that, and showing some of the cinematics from the game, from the cinematics from the story was really good. Let's see now. Forza, I think, melted everyone's faces. And if anyone says it didn't, then they're lying to themselves.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones that stood out for me that aren't specifically just for Xbox, but Back 4 Blood. I'm a huge Left 4 Dead fan. Cannot wait for Back 4 Blood and day one on Game Pass. So that blew me away. And there was even things that surprised me, like the Outer Worlds 2, which I was happy to see. Starfield looked amazing, but you know what the number one game that I saw during this during the showing that is going to also be on Game Pass that blew me away was a little game called Replaced. And if people don't remember that one, it is, because I'm a retro guy, it's retro style pixel art, and it's done in the most amazing fashion. If you haven't seen that trailer, go check it out. It's a game that I'm probably most anticipated to play. Loved every minute.
That's a great pick. Phil Spencer's one of his top picks, I think, as well. So it's pretty cool. So Jay, let me just ask you this question, since you brought up Halo and of course the revamped visuals. If nobody really had complained about Halo last year, do you think that game would have inevitably just came out at that expected launch time, or do you think the delay was really largely due to the backlash from the community on the visual presentation?
It's hard to say, right? Because they may have run into some snags during their production anyway and had to delay it, either COVID or not. Does fan feedback kind of push the direction sometimes? I think it does. You get some people, you get the vocal minority that like to post the Craig memes, and someone in the executive team has to sit back and go, okay, well, we need to put out this fire because we don't want this to go any further, or they can embrace it. Actually, I've heard a lot of people say to me, if Craig doesn't come out as a mascot in this game, maybe they'll have some kind of a funny mode during multiplayer where Craig comes out and you shoot him and his head explodes with confetti or something. I don't know. They better do something with Craig to embrace that. But I definitely think that, the fan feedback probably played a little role in that, for sure.
Well, and let me just reiterate again, that was an alpha release. That wasn't nowhere near a final release.
Yeah. See, people will pick apart everything whenever they get a chance to. That's kind of
especially certain people. Yeah.
And it really bothers me that this is a community that we're supposed to be enjoying gaming, but it seems like more people, instead of wanting to enjoy gaming, they just want to make everyone feel miserable about their choices. And it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, I can only imagine if Graphic God, you spend a lot of time obviously doing artwork for people, that if some of your preliminary sketches and work had went up and people were judging you based on work that's not complete, you'd be a little bit like, it's not really fair.
100%.
Right. And I think that's it. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these companies are not showing as much as we've gotten used to in the past, because as much as they'd like to tease us all with one of those fantastic trailers or these CGI things or whatever it might be, is that they know that as soon as you, especially on the E3 stage, everybody comes at you with a microscope and will criticize every little. They don't give you credit for what you're doing right. They always first to pick out what they think you're doing wrong. So, and again, we'll discuss that more in detail. Let's get over as we're going to bring Eternal Shaddai in here, and we're going to just bounce out Jay here for a second. So we're going to, all right, Jay, we'll bring you back in here shortly, and let's get a Shaddai in here to have his piece right after we get the Fastback, who drops an incredible $10 super chat. Good morning, Xbox. Happy Father's Day. Last week, we saw lots of cool-ass games coming soon later from all plays, but enjoyed Xbox, Bethesda, and Devolver Digital shows the most. So great super chat there from Fastback, and I'm glad he enjoyed certain parts of that show for sure. So good stuff. Shaddai, how about you, man? Summarize what you basically saw and enjoyed most from Xbox E3 presentation.
I really enjoy Xbox E3. I really did. But the ones that caught, my eye while I was watching the show, I'm in the bandwagon to Replaced. Replaced is one of the games that I'm actually waiting for it, and my second one will be Atomic Heart. The reason why is that we haven't had a BioShock for kind of quite some time. After the closest one we can think of is We Happy Few, and by me seeing Atomic Heart, it actually brought me back. Like, okay, we need, not for nothing, but we needed this. There was a lot of people that were actually sometimes saying we need another BioShock. We heard this, we heard that, and by me watching that, I'm like, you know what? This is another BioShock that we actually need. But the one that actually caught my eyes was Replaced. The MIA of the last night was there, so it actually matches that title, Replaced, because it's kind of somewhat replacing the last night until, what was his name? Tim Serret posted a gif on Twitter about his actually his project of the last night, and it actually looked phenomenal too.
Yes.
So
yes, good.
for me, it's Replaced. Replaced is the one that caught my eyes really, really good. And also, you could see that indie games are actually making more of the splash compared to the AAA games that we see the most. So kudos to the indies devs. Seriously, they are actually evolving as time goes forward. So that will be Replaced.
Yes, well done. I mean, you have to envy the indies to some degree because they come in with a lot less pressure, so they can slide underneath the radar without that preconceived notion of what their game is supposed to be and have to live up to these lofty expectations. But of course, once you get a hit, after that, it's you become the target. Because I'm pretty sure, like, if you look at the Cuphead developers, right? So whatever they decided they're going to make next is going to get scrutinized and certainly going to be looked at more subjectively or whatever than perhaps their initial launch. But not to get off track, let's bring in Axel to give his take on Xbox.
Yeah, there's this little title over here.
Ooh.
Don't know if anybody's heard of it.
Nice.
Called Halo. Newf, I was on your podcast, Gaming After Dark, last year's showing, if you recall. And you asked me if they should delay it, and I told you they should delay it for a full year until November for the 20th anniversary because it needed work. I was one of those Halo vocal community guys that was just ripping it up on Twitter, probably a little unfairly,
Yeah.
And so look what a year has done. The campaign looks phenomenal. We got to see the new AI called The Weapon, or nicknamed The Weapon. Cortana's little sister that also looks like Cortana. And, the multiplayer looks incredible. The more I watch the multiplayer, the more I'm just imagining the chaos that I'm going to cause with it. And so to me, as always, Halo is up there. It's up there on the pedestal that it belongs. It finally looks like it belongs. Exactly. Kind of a little sad that we didn't get to hear more about the Banished, but that's okay. Maybe they're saving that for the campaign. They don't want to reveal too much.
Mhm.
So that was one. I feel like Forza Horizon 5 stole the show with Mexico, man. Those graphics were
Mhm.
insane. Like I didn't think a racing game would ever win Best in Show ever again since Gran Turismo back in the early 90s. Or sorry, late 90s. And yet here's Playground Games with Forza Horizon just showing us how to do it. So kudos to them. I really love that. And of course, today is Sea of Thieves, a Pirates Day launch day. If you want to play some Disney themed Sea of Thieves, go ahead. There's still going to be so much non-Disney cursing on it. You can go ahead and have some fun. And but I really want to touch on this replace. We have games like Starfield, which by the way I also love. I really analyzed that trailer way too much. I'm excited for that one. We have Starfield, Sea of Thieves, Psychonauts, Halo, the Outer Worlds 2 Flight Simulator, Forza Horizon, all these big games, and yet this little indie replaced is talked amongst all of them. It caught everybody's eyes. It's definitely the surprise of the show, and it looks great. If it plays as good as it looks, this is really going to be something special. This developer is going to have something special on their hand. And I hope it does. I really hope all the success for them. So yeah, those are my thoughts, real quick, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Nice. Just before we bring in our brother Scrub, I just got a special announcement to make here, and I'm going to make this now since the man who's going to make this possible is in the chat, or at least he was, at least for a quick minute here, and that is our good friend of the show, Crazy Greek Dude. Well, courtesy of Crazy Greek Dude, guys, we are going to be giving away a 6-month Xbox Game Pass Ultimate code. 6 months, and we're going to do that here very, very soon. But yeah, he was kind enough to grace us with some codes. We're going to give one away on Gaming After Dark, and we're going to give one away on this particular show. So we're going to do that here real soon, but we'll have the details to come. So I just got to figure out a few things, and I'm also thinking maybe a great time to do it would probably be on the July 4th weekend, because our actual show falls on July 4th on that Sunday. So that would be really cool, I think. So yeah, Crazy's an amazing guy, and shout out to him as well. We were playing community game night. He's one of the few people that showed up last night, and we always have a blast. So we had good times. We ended up actually playing Rogue Company at the end of it all because we couldn't find enough people to do a private match on Modern Warfare, which is really odd. But anyway, yeah, shout out to him, and we'll have the details to come. Let's get over to Scrub. Scrub, how about you, man? What really impressed you from Xbox E3 now that you've had time to digest it?
Man, I got to watch it a couple of times in 4K, and of course, when it first came out, everybody got to watch it in the regular stream with the bit rate. Just didn't do it justice. But however you watched it, please, if you get a chance, rewatch it from that's not the live stream. But the ones that really knocked me out, like everybody has had a chance to say it, but of course, Halo, them coming out and showing the multiplayer and showing the skins. And we might get into this later. This is kind of big with me, is Xbox coming out and then showing their waypoint on it. And then on Thursday, having their show again and talking to some of the developers, bringing out some of these games, even more information. I think that was perfect. I think that's why E3 pacing was so good, because some of the stuff you saw on Thursday and like Waypoint with Halo would have been normally stuck in the E3, and then you would have had your ups and downs and your lulls, and you might see stuff that you weren't interested in. But having Thursday set up, you could go in and listen to the extra stuff that you wanted to, and if you didn't, you could leave it alone. So I love how they did Halo. Of course, Forza just blew my mind away. I loved how it looked. Even for a hot second before it started, I was thinking it was it was almost motorsport the way it went, because it was kind of real subdued, and it wasn't so party fun looking as at first. I just think they're just knocking it out the park right now. Turn 10 and Playground Games, they can kind of do no wrong. They're doing so well. of course, Replaced. Everybody was talking about that game. Looks great. And I think his name was what? Tim Soray. He did come out from the last night and show it, because I even made mention last week that Replaced looks like it's going to replace last night. But so last night is still coming, but Replaced, I'm highly anticipated game for me coming next year. Psychonauts, also them doing Thursday and going more in deep has me more hyped for a game that I like visually. It's not my style of game per se, but it makes me more interested by them doing a more of a deep dive like they did on Thursday. And then probably rounding it out, even though it's not a Xbox exclusive, it's probably going to be Battlefield, what they show with the gameplay. It really got me excited. It looks more like a game that I want to play, something that kind of breaks the monotony from COD, and I hope they do well. I'm looking and hoping that EA can pull this off. But if you don't count that, I'd probably add in the Ascent. The Ascent looks really great. A 4-player co-op looks something that a lot of your friends can just jump in and go, and the visuals look great. Everything that they showcase, whatever art style you thought, the visuals looked great. So E3 definitely has me hyped for all these games. And if you look at the list, guys, we're getting games almost every other week, if not every week in some months. So I'm definitely hyped up for E3. Xbox did a great show.
They did. And I'm just going to cap off and say that I think I'm the last one to chime in here, correct? I think so. I'm just going to cap off and say this. Yes, Xbox, I think, definitely did have a great show. I mean, where it ranks in the upper echelon of all their shows, it's hard to say. They've had some really good ones over the last couple of years. Xbox has really been hitting on most cylinders. I mean, really, the only thing they haven't kind of given us has been the games, and I think that is just about ready to end. As a matter of fact, and Scrubs alluded to it, so many games and dropping like now is they actually gave us a more of a roadmap than they have in previous years. They didn't go too far out and show us a lot of stuff that was like way down the road. I mean, they kept a lot of stuff away from the show. We didn't see anything from Perfect Dark. We didn't see Fable. We didn't, a lot of these highly touted titles we didn't see. And while that sucks, we kind of understand why. But now that we sort of have a roadmap, and they're giving us, I mean, I think about 6 titles from basically now to the end of the year at some capacity. Coming in July, as a matter of fact, like I said, we're going to get the long touted Flight Simulator, a very highly rated Metacritic scoring game. Of course, some people are going to have issues with that too, but hey, it is a highly scoring Metacritic game if you even give a rat's stink about it. But I'm just putting that out there. I mean, for me personally, like my favorites from what I saw would go in this particular order. I have to say, like you, Scrub, Forza Horizon 5 just absolutely took me by storm, blew me absolutely away. Unbelievable, the talent level of this studio. I mean, Forza is one of those games where after the 4th one, we were kind of going, how do you raise the bar on Forza Horizon? And I think they did it again. Like this thing looks absolutely stunning. Like the scale and scope, the recreational Mexico, unbelievable stuff, man. So Horizon 5 definitely has me excited to jump back into the series. It definitely now it makes you really wonder, like, man, turn 10 is going to have something special pretty much when Forza 8 comes out, for sure. If this is what the Horizon team is doing with Horizons, is crazy stuff there. Halo Infinite, obviously, I mean, how can you not pick Halo Infinite? It's, it is vastly improved from what we saw. They showed multiplayer. They didn't really go deep on the campaign. I get that, but I think we're going to see a few more shows toward the end of the year. Remember, there is Gamescom. There's going to be a variety of other shows and chances to show off a little bit more about the campaign aspect. But they showed us enough to get us definitely excited. They showed us enough to go, remember last year it kind of looked a little bit shoddy. Well, now it's looking much more sophisticated, graphically much better. Like the rendering, the lighting, the textures, everything is definitely scaled. And if you can't see that, man, it is time to go get your eyeballs checked with your optometrician. So
Get yourself a 4K monitor.
Get yourself a 4K monitor. But unbelievable there with Halo Infinite. Super excited for that. I think the multiplayer is going to hit hard and heavy, and it's free. I mean, there you go. So you're going to get more people than ever jumping into the Halo franchise. Was that Pure Flack is saying in the chat? I saw some YouTubers rant the Hellblade wasn't in full production. I guess they don't understand building assets. Yeah, I mean, it's in full production. It's been going, but well, that's it. They got to find something to grab onto. Pure Flack, you know what I mean? They got to find some sense of, hey, we got to drag down Xbox because they're just killing it right now.
By the way, the number of games by the end of the year for Game Pass is double digits. Okay, just so you know, in the next 6 months, it's double digits.
Yeah. My next game after Halo Infinite is going to be Stalker 2, which absolutely definitely looked next gen and was a visual showcase at this show. Unbelievable. Those ugly creatures or whatever is in that game, my lord. But just the detail level on that game is crazy. I heard Stalker 2 is going to come in at a whopping 150 gigs or something like that. So that tells you what kind of graphical showcase that's going to be. Replaced after that was definitely a star of the show. Like I said, and I normally don't really get overly hyped on indies, but this one caught my attention right off the get-go from its pixel art style to the backdrops and stuff. Like you said, it's basically kind of made us forget about The Last Night a little bit, and that's cool. After that, I'm going to go with Psychonauts 2, as Terry mentioned earlier. This game just looks too fun and too crazy not to have up there and high on the list. I don't care that it's not a exclusive per se. If it comes out on another console, you know what, guys? Be thankful and grateful for it, because you're in for a real treat. If you never played the first game, go back and try it, and Psychonauts 2 looks great. And an honorable mention I want to give to Flight Simulator. The Top Gun Maverick thing blew my mind. I mean, I was already sold on Flight Simulator, but when I saw that, and being so big Tom Cruise fan and a big Top Gun fan, my underwear, man, basically popped off and went to the floor and flew up in the ceiling somewhere. Like, I was like, wow, this is cool.
There's an image I don't need. Newf's underwear sticking to the ceiling. Yeah.
I think you probably stick anywhere. I'll send you a pair in the mail, Paul, a little souvenir, memento. How about that? Huh? That'll be the stinkiest delivery ever.
I'm actually very curious because Flight Simulator doesn't download onto your system until you're playing it. So it has to feed the assets in. So when you're flying in a fast fighter jet, I wonder if some systems won't be able to handle it.
Potentially.
No, well, to say that it doesn't download into the system, it doesn't. It runs off your system. It has some base assets inside of it. The high detailed stuff, no. But it's going to be coming in off delayed. So I'm assuming you're going to have to have a pretty good internet connection to get all the goodies out of it.
I agree.
He even said it. He's going to go really, really fast that plane. So he even said it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Afterburners on, always.
Yeah, and on the extended show on Thursday, the dev sat down from Asobo and basically said, yeah, there's another plane in there. There's F-18s in there, but there's another plane as well. And I'm pretty sure he's referring to the iconic F-14 Tomcat that we saw prominently in the first film. It was really, really cool. He couldn't really say much else to it because obviously the movie's not out. It's been delayed till I think it's November or December of this year. For a variety of reasons, but I can't wait for that movie to come out. It's going to be
also.
Pretty
I
cool.
think people need to not get confused and think it's going to be a dogfighting game. It is a simulator. You're just going to be flying around really fast.
Correct. You're just going to get to do it from a fighter jet standpoint and not from your regular Cessna or that sort of stuff. Good point, Paul. Thanks for pointing that out too, because some people might be like, "Whoa, well, where's the dogfighting?" It isn't a dogfighting simulator. Sorry.
It's not Ace Combat.
Yeah, it's not Ace Combat.
It may show.
And if Ace Combat had that, I would be floored. If Ace Combat got that, man, I'd love it.
It may show, the simulation lock-on ability, to show that you're in a dogfight. Okay, you have a good lock, good tone, boom, boom, whatever. But it's not going to be a shoot 'em up, blow 'em out of the sky thing.
And while some people are going to hate this next part, the word Game Pass, which obviously scares the death out of some people. I know a lot of people probably say that about me, but no, it doesn't. I've always said Game Pass is phenomenal. My reasons for choosing not to get it are my own, and they're kind of weird and wanky, but it's just me. But Game Pass, we all expected like Game Pass, but they did it very subtly. You guys know what I'm saying? Because what they did was like, it wasn't just you heard everybody coming out on the stage going Game Pass. It was kind of like, here's the game, and then boom, right at the end, day one, Game Pass. And they kind of did it with the little subtitles or whatever at the end. So like by the end of that show, the thing you should have took away most is, man, if you are a Game Pass subscriber, holy hell, buckle down, because you're in for a wild ride. Because almost all these games, I mean, they think they showed off about 30 games, and 27, if I'm correct, were Game Pass, not Game Pass 6 months, not Game Pass a year, Game Pass the day it launches.
Mhm.
How in the hell can you go wrong with that?
You can't beat it. It's a good deal, and like you said, they first started out in the beginning. 27 of these 30 are going to be Game Pass, and then like you said, Newf, it just put it in there. I know other shows, folks were kind of mad and kind of jumping on my car. That's all they say was Game Pass, Game Pass. You can find this on Game Pass. You can do this on Game Pass. All they did was put the little header on each game. At the back, you saw what consoles is going to be, X and S, one PC. And they let you know if it was a launch exclusive, which is basically a timed exclusive, or it was just exclusive to Xbox, and they just let you deal with it without just hitting you over the head with it saying out loud. And whoever helped with the PR and the marketing for this show, I think they did a great job. It was subtle, but also it was just hitting you over the head over and over again. Dang, Bass, it was remarkable. I think they did a great job.
Those are just the 27 games they talked about. They laid out all the other games we already know about for this year, like Scorn.
Exactly.
Soon. And like at least like 5 or 6 others that they didn't even mention. So yeah. So anybody who still says, well, you know, big deal, I'm like, yeah, it is. It really is.
And we saw a commitment from Microsoft as well, with some games that obviously came out and were hits, like Grounded is getting more closer to a complete version. We saw them commit to that.
Achievements, baby. They actually made a big deal of mentioning that.
I know, right?
Finally, achievements.
You know. And I mean, I think we all were. Nobody was really surprised per se to see Sea of Thieves, but I think we can all agree that I don't know any of us expected to see, you know, the Pirates of the Caribbean content for Sea of Thieves. Although, you know, many of us in the past may have said, you know, that's a match made in heaven, but to come out and finally see it, and like, that was a big surprising moment for me. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I know some people don't care for Sea of Thieves, but boy, if you are a Sea of Thieves fan, that game's market value just went through the roof.
Oh yeah, that's a big deal for them to be working with Disney and be able to get those rights to put that in the game like that, even though it might be a story that you know, we've seen in Pirates of the Caribbean, but to be able just to pull that off, bring in new players, bring in players that have left the game, that's going to be big for a revenue stream as far as Game Pass, in credit stuff. You just want people on their ecosystem. Anything that can bring a gamer to the ecosystem is what Xbox is trying to do, and the moves that they're making right now look awesome.
By the way, I heard good advice regarding that last night. Give it a while for the griefers to get tired of being griefers, because if there's certain islands you need to go to, they're going to be camping that crap out just to be a pain in the butt.
That's my favorite time to play. I love going in there and blowing them up.
I'm just saying, some people need to be aware that if there's a certain island you need to go to deal with some of that stuff, people are going to be waiting for other people to show up just to try to steal their stuff, or just kill them just to be them. You know, just.
Absolutely.
That's very.
It's so funny because when one of the Tall Tales came out, there was this island that had a I don't know, like a bunch of traps in it, and us and this other crew got into this like 2-hour-long scuffle over the resource at that island, and it was a lot of fun. You just got to enjoy the chaos that comes with Sea of Thieves.
And you said that DLC drops today, correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. Awesome. Good stuff, guys. Right there. Sea of Thieves kicking things off this summer. a good way to go. Like I said, overall, guys, Xbox definitely had a strong show. Where it scored is more or less irrelevant in my opinion, because I think it was just strong. They had variety. That's the thing. They had variety. They had big games. They had small games. They kept the show fast paced. It wasn't like dragging out. And of course, they left more of that interviewee stuff for that extended show on Thursday. We got to see some of the stuff we expected. There was some stuff that they missed, but at the same time, we know that, like I said, the roadmap is now in place. 2021 is going to end really well, and 2022, holy diner. 2022 is going to be packed. If a lot of these games start dropping next year, let's cross our fingers that they don't get delayed. I mean, that's inevitability, but the industry is starting to open up. We're starting to see more studios get back behind the computers, get back to working in a team environment again. Now that COVID is not really gone, but at least it's lifting, restrictions are coming down a little bit. So hopefully they can start going full bore, and we'll see a lot of these games. Let's give a shout out to the chat real quick. I'm going to bring Graphicon back in here because I'm sure he's got some stuff to say. Let's give a shout out to some amazing people. Back from the Dead is in the house. Crispy Rambo is here. I saw the one, the only, the man from Gaming After Dark, my co-panel member, the Mag. That's right, loudest man on podcasting right now. Maybe not, but hey, he's definitely pretty loud and never has a shortage of things to say. Mag, what's going on, brother? How are you doing today? Who else do we got here? Like I said, Stubbs, Fastback is in the house. Matty Burns is here. What's going on, Matt Burns? Pure Flack is hanging out with us. Infinite is here. Yeah, there he is. Infinite is in the house. What's going on, Infinite? Glad you made. Triple Cup Chuck is in the house. There's a fun guy to have in your podcast.
Oh,
yeah, Triple Cup. What's going on, brother? Good to see you here. We'll have to get him on as a guest or something. Hey, Smitty Smith is in here. Whoa, I think that's maybe a first time for Smitty. Welcome, Smitty. Good to see you here, man. Lots of familiar faces. Makes us feel warm and fuzzy inside. Let's I'm
like
gonna
and share, people. Like and share.
all right, let's bring in Graphic God back in here.
Actually, could you take me out, Newf? I gotta work on this microphone.
All right, yeah, he's going. Yeah, I hear that now. Yeah, a little bit of static. We were saying in
Yeah.
the private chat. All right, hang on a second. We're gonna get rid of Axel's mug.
Get out. I'm kidding.
There you go. Let's bring let's bring Scrubs back in. All right, Jay. My applause to you, brother, for your production efforts. Because even just doing StreamYard and bouncing 6 people and going through your messages and going through the little different just the little stuff, and this is even coming from a radio guy who spent a lot of time on boards and bouncing different screens. This shit's can get pretty complicated. So my hat's off to you, brother, because when you produced MNC Morning, I know that's a proud moment for you, but also a sore spot. We won't get into that, but like it just makes me appreciate you that much more and what you did in making that one hell of a phenomenal podcast. There's been nothing out there really like it today, and no offense to nobody else, but there hasn't been anything out there really like that podcast and just the way it was done. You did the live calls, the graphic overlays, everything. It was very congruent. So hats off to you, man. And because when you start doing this shit as sort of the host and you're not just sitting back answering questions, you kind of realize how much work and preparation goes into even something as small as doing this little podcast on StreamYard. And it's pretty simple, but boy, bouncing screens and trying to keep track is a full-time job. Smitty Smith, he's dropping $10 in the super chat. Salute Newf and panel. Good morning, Xbox. Good morning to you, Smitty, and thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the love, brother. So, Graphic, did you have anything else to say there to jump in on kind of what we ended off with on the Xbox thing or Sea of Thieves in particular?
Well, yeah, I had a very serious question for you regarding when we were talking about Flight Simulator.
Mm-hmm.
So you were commenting about your reaction to Flight Simulator, and my question was, were you sliding across the hardwood floor wearing sunglasses and only your underwear when they popped off?
No, I probably didn't have underwear on at the time. The sunglasses are questionable, but yeah, that's when everybody left my house. That's when the doors closed, and great one.
I appreciate your comments about production and stuff like that. It isn't an easy job, but if anything, out of everything that I've done, I hope it has inspired people to want to do more with their shows, because when I was producing those shows, it was we wanted to stand out. We wanted to make sure that with this platform, you don't just have to be a blank icon on a screen. You can add more to it, make it more like you have experience in radio. We want to make it more like a radio show, or more like, like even like a television broadcast, if anything. So if anything, my extra efforts that I put into that show hopefully has inspired other people to want to do more and make them realize there can be more. I mean, even what you're doing right here with StreamYard is great. It's actually terrific.
Yeah. I can't remember, Jay, because I know we go back quite a ways, but did you have a lot to do at the time with the console corner? Did you have anything to do with those guys?
I helped them create some graphic. I did their logos.
Yeah.
And I was in touch with GKB and She-Wolf at the time, and we were doing, like, they did a lot of the work themselves.
Yeah.
They were probably one of the first shows that I can think of that started doing voice calls. They did them before MNC did them. But I think because I even spoke to GKB about that, and I think he kind of gave me some tips on what I can do, and I kind of took it to another level. But no, I think they were one of the first people to do it. So they were an inspiration for me.
Yeah, because I love what they were doing as well. Like theirs probably wasn't as complex as the MNC thing, but like that whole behind the desk, like an ESPN kind of presentation was really cool.
I think they did that in their garage. Like they had their whole garage set up as like a little studio.
Yeah. I'd love to do that here, obviously, but we don't. It'd be great to be all together in one spot and do this with the whole panel, but that might be a dream for down the road. But how about the Sea of Thieves stuff? Anything else? Any further thoughts? Anybody from Microsoft and Xbox? I mean, boy, Game Pass, games are coming. The floodgates are going to be opening. That no game stuff is going to die here real quick soon, and we're going to get lots of games. But of course, the narrative is going to change from, well, Xbox got lots of games, but 90% of them are absolute crap. Am I right? Is that what we're facing right now?
Or they're not first party. That's going to be the big drive now.
Yeah.
But they're not first party. Yeah.
Or they're all 360s and no new games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've already seen the narrative about how, people are talking about how Xbox has more games. There's already people spinning it that that we don't have more games because all of our games are still a year or more out. I'm just like,
oh,
yeah.
Well, yeah, I hear that a lot.
Okay. And the competitors have less games that you're going to play for 20 hours and then forget about 5 days later, and you're on to and trying to find something else, and you're back to the third party stuff, just like everybody else, right? Like,
by the way, I wanted to mention that when you mentioned it, none of the stuff they showed is more than 18 months out.
That's right.
Most of it in the next 12.
But not for nothing. At the end of the day, I think Matt Booty said it. Said, what is it, last year or 2 years ago, that the games were going to be out for within 2 years. Everybody got surprised, like, so that means there's no games on launch day. But he actually said it. He's going to take pretty much 2 years, and pretty much, what is it, 2022? 2 years. He said it very clear. So I don't know why people are not, reading correctly and taking that like, okay, you have to wait.
It's a lot of hypocrisy.
They latch on to a narrative. They need to, but Sony released this, that, and the other thing. And like I've been saying in my chats, look, we don't know where those games were at in their production schedule before COVID, when, they may have been darn near ready to go by the time all the slowdown stuff happened. Yeah. So you can't just say, well, they're doing it. How come this one can't? Because they weren't in the same spot.
And not only that, because I keep talking with friends of mine and all that, and they're not the only one. They say like, yeah, but no, sorry to bring this up, but Naughty Dog did this, and look what happened to Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, but not everybody works the same way, because I don't know when Spider-Man was developed or whatever the case may be, but Hellblade, let's put it this way, because a lot of people were waiting for Hellblade, and it wasn't showing. Like, yeah, but if they did this, why they didn't do that? I'm like, because the thing is that it probably by the time Sunset Overdrive was done, probably they went straight to Spider-Man, or that's the case maybe, not on Hellblade. Probably they were still working on the acquisitions and the new studio that they showed before, went back to COVID. So I don't know what is going on that one. So I don't know why a lot of people is bringing that narrative that, people are being lazy, or we have to wait for 2 years, and I don't get that.
And people don't realize that Hellblade has also ramped up production significantly. This is no longer the Hellblade being made by a half a dozen people. This is now like Hellblade being made by a much larger studio with a bigger production budget. And they're trying to do things, obviously, with the game now that were not feasibly possible before. And they're just showing off the behind the scenes aspect. But I'm pretty sure the game is. I mean, they didn't take that long to put the first game out. I think it was developed in the run of a couple of years. So I don't think this game is that far out. Honestly, probably a late 2023. It would be my guess, but we'll see. Let's catch up with some super chats, and then we're going to bring Coolcat Terri in with her indie spotlight for today. Our good friend from the We Bleed Green podcast, Dirk Griggity, is in the house, and he says, "I used to love MNC in the morning. I used to call every week. Graphic God did a great job on that show." Well, there you go.
remember
Graphic
that. Yep.
We got more love in the chat from the one, the only Dirk Griggity.
I do remember that too.
Mm-hmm. And we got another one coming in. Again, another love for the Graphic God, Smitty Smith. Shout out to Graphic God. Much respect, brother. He draws $5. Thank you, Smitty. Thank you, Dirt. Wow, the love is coming through today, guys. Appreciate it. And if you want to show Jay some real love as well, don't forget xboxgamerpicks.com. Again, that's www.xboxgamerpicks.com. He'll set you up. He'll get you going at very fantastic rates too, by the way. And the guy just nails it. He every time he nails it. You just give him a couple ideas, and it's amazing what you come back with.
Every time.
Smitty again. Smitty's dropping the bank account this morning here. $5. You know what's funny is that nobody is talking about Ratchet and Clank. That's because everyone is talking about Xbox, the Book of X. Good point. Ratchet and Clank, a phenomenal game, by the way. A little Sony love here. Unbelievable, guys. Insomniac, great job. You knocked it out of the park with this one. You guys have a PS5. It's a must-own title, in my opinion. Great platformer, solid play controls, amazing graphics. They really took it up a notch. So cool stuff right there. Now that we got the super chats out of the way, we're caught up with the chat. Caper Grant is in the house. He played with us last night. Community Game Night. Caper, what's going on? Maddie Burns, we got to catch back up with that Dead Space 3 here real soon. I'll give you time and a date. Good stuff right there. And I'm just going to end off and just say this right now. You know what, guys, to the fake haters out there that their whole channel is based on hating the other company, I got advice for you. You know what? You can make a lot more money. Well, maybe perhaps not. But I was going to say, you can always go on your streams and your Twitch accounts and whatever else and do the hot tub scenes or lick something funny or do whatever the hell is being popular these days. You don't need to bring the fake hate or the outrage and the clickbaity crap to fucking be popular here. Oh, shit.
Warn me if you're gonna do a hot tub podcast there, Newf. I want to throw my computer out the door. I want to throw my computer out the door. So.
Oh, there we go. I'll just I'll be a fuzzy. It'll be I'll just break the screen down. All right, let's bring in Coolcat Terri here for the next one. It's the Indie Spotlight.
All right, everybody, I got another fantastic game for you guys today. Today I'm going to show off Ari and the Secret of Seasons. It's a fantastic game that came out here near the end of 2020. I've had a pretty good time playing it. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the trailer real quick, or one of the trailers. I picked out the gameplay trailer just because I want to make sure you guys can see what kind of game it was, and not just have like the your standard like cinematic. So if you can flip things real quick, I'm going to hit play on this. You guys can get an idea of what this game is.
A powerful force has thrown our realm into chaos. Ari, like your father before you, you must become the Guardian of Winter and journey across uncharted lands. Fighting the forces of evil to restore balance once more. The greatest adventures have small beginnings. Ari and the Secret of Seasons.
All right, so there you go. Ari and the Secret of Seasons. Now, this game is absolutely fantastic. It's an action adventure game that also has some puzzles in it, but it's not like over the top puzzles. This is something that these are no brainer kind of puzzles. So you'll be fine. You don't have to stress out for those of you that aren't into the puzzle scene. It's a fantastic game. Now, this is developed by Exon and Fishing Cactus. So they got two newer indie devs out there, and they got published by Maximum and Modus Studios, which is fantastic. Modus actually has a lot of great titles that they publish, so it's a great quality game. You can actually pick this bad boy up on Xbox, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and on Steam for $40. And the quick synopsis of this game is you play as the character Ari. She basically has to become the Guardian of Winter. And then as you play through, you will gain the abilities of the other seasons and manipulate them to try to bring back the different realms back to normal. You saw like those red crystals that she was breaking. Basically, they come in and they've messed up everything. The different kingdoms have their own season. These crystals came in, so now like winter is summer, fall is spring. It's all chaos. People are miserable. People are going homeless because there's this one guy, he lives in the winter place, and he built his house was an igloo, and now the things are messed up. So now it's summertime, so now he has no house. So he's distraught. All right, he wasn't prepared. But it's a good time. It's a lot of good fun. I like to say that this game, for me, when I was playing through it, I felt that it took a lot of inspiration from things like Avatar: Last Airbender, with the different abilities and stuff for the different like water and all that kind of stuff. And then as well as Mulan, because you play as a character who has to kind of take the spot of her father, because he's currently, if you saw in that trailer kind of briefly, he's in a wheelchair right now, so he can't fulfill his duties. And her brother is actually supposed to, take over for the father, but he's missing. So not only do you have to kind of fill in the shoes of your father, you also got to try to find your missing brother. So you go and you cut your hair like Mulan, you dress like a boy, you try to impersonate your brother, and you try to, save all the different kingdoms. It's a fantastic little game. Definitely could go ahead and check it out. And I actually have a special announcement here for you guys. I actually have an extra copy of the game for Xbox that I want to do a special giveaway for. So anybody here, whether you're watching live now, or for those of you that may be watching the VOD later, you will have a chance to enter in to get this copy. All I want you to do is to go into the comment section of this video. You may not be able to, I don't know if you can leave a comment while we're live or not, but if you cannot, just make sure you come in after we end, go into the comment section, do hashtag We Want Terri, and just tell me a little bit about why you like indie games or why you would be interested in having this game. Whatever you say is not going to impact whether or not you're going to win or not. So if you try to be, if you try to suck up a lot, it's not going to give you any more weight. All right. I'll be entering everybody's name equally. Okay. Everybody's name will get entered equally. So you'll all have a good shot at it. So yes, it's going to be for the Xbox version. I have a code I'm going to give out. So just go into the comment section at the end of the stream, do hashtag We Want Terri, and just tell me a little bit about why you want an indie game. And then I will give you all until Monday. Okay, you got until tomorrow, noon Eastern time. All right, I'm going to go through. I'm going to get all the names out of the comment section. I'm going to throw you in my little thing for the giveaway, and I'll record it, and then I'll send it to Newf, and he'll upload the video so you guys can see who the winner is. All right, so you guys got until tomorrow. That gives everybody a chance to enter that may not be here right now, because I know it is early in the morning. So I want to make sure everybody has a fair shake at it. So good luck. And congrats to whoever does win, tomorrow. It's a fantastic little game, so enjoy it.
There you go, guys. Make sure you add that hashtag. And like I said, leave your comments in there. Great. Another fantastic little indie brought to light by Coolcat Terri. Nice job. Nice job. Well, some lucky winner is going to dive into that little gem of a game right there. All right, let's move right along. Let's catch up with the chat again real quick, guys. What's happening, everybody? Glad you could be here. Yeah, we got lots of We Want Terri in the chats already. Anybody new in the house right now? Not Too Shabby is in the house. What's going on? Thanks for being here, everybody. You guys are amazing. Dan the Man Cunningham is in the house. What's going on, Dan the Man? So I've bounced out Cerebral Paul for the moment. Now we're just going to come back with a quick wrap up on the rest of the show. We're going to go around the loop again. Actually, I'll start in reverse order, and we'll go with our guests, and we'll come back around here. Let's just talk about the rest of it. Was there anything else for any of the other companies that we saw that stood out to you? I mean, we obviously Ubisoft had a little bit of a show. Then there was Square Enix. EA was not present. They're coming out on July 22nd. And then you had the Nintendo Direct. What else was there, guys? There's
Capcom was
Capcom.
No.
All the digital.
But yeah, have you guys
Next best show.
So some of that stuff was very forgetful.
Yeah, that was
forgot
about
it
one of the
already,
worst
so-
ones. Yeah.
So go ahead, Jay. I guess
Uh,
you're on deck, man. Anything from any of the other shows stood out to you, or were they pretty much forgettable, as you mentioned?
Well, with the Ubisoft, they showed some Rainbow Six Extraction. Is that what the name of it is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of gave me a very Left 4 Dead feel. You know, you're instead of fighting zombies, you're fighting aliens and things like that. Felt like that. That seemed pretty cool. I'm not a big Rainbow Six guy, but I think I'd get into that. As for Nintendo, being a retro guy, I was really impressed with the showing for Metroid Dread.
Mm-hmm.
You know, more of a side scroller. And I think what they had said was this was going to be the last Metroid game in that vein, like as in that series of Samus
Right.
against the Metroids is going to be done now,
Mm-hmm.
and that they're going to move on with other types of games with her in it. But that was really impressive. And like I said, because I'm a retro guy.
Yeah. What'd you think of the sort of Alien Isolation vibes that kind of being stalked by this giant robotic creature kind of deal?
Yeah, that was pretty cool as well. Like I said, I like all these types of games. I don't play every system because I don't own every system,
Mm-hmm.
but and I don't play every game because I'm an adult and I have 2 jobs and I have children and I have dogs and I have cats. I have responsibilities. I wish I could be one of those guys that could just play games all day long and do this kind of thing all day long because I enjoy it. But I
Preach, bro.
admittedly I'm an adult and I have responsibilities. I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I've been playing Resident Evil 8 for about 2 weeks now, and I know everyone can say you could beat that in one sitting, but no, not me. I don't have enough time to play in one sitting. So it's games like that. But other than that, those are the only ones that really stand out.
We
for me
feel
right
your
now.
pain.
Yeah, exactly. So the only ones I can think of right now. I'm sure if anyone else mentions some stuff, I'll go, oh yeah, that was a good one too. But
Yeah, you can come back to it. Well, like I said, we'll get to Paul in just a minute, but we'll go around the circle. How about you, Scrub? From anybody of the other shows, what stood out to you most, or basically, where did they fail? Where did they mess up?
I'm still kind of confused what Jay was saying. He was saying something about Samus and Metroid and she and stuff. And when did Samus turn into a girl? Why are we making all these female protagonists in games? I'm confused. Samus is old school, guys. There's been female protagonists all the time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that a lot of the shows were kind of lacking. I think you can tell that some of these developers who only have 1 or 2 games coming out pretty soon, due to COVID, to restraints, maybe mocap and different things, you can see how it has affected the industry as a whole. I think that stood out more than anything in this E3, and I think it made Xbox stick out more because they have all these extra studios. So if something is not ready to go at this very moment, they have something to fall back on. Well, we can't show you these 3 games, but we can show you these other 15 games. And I think that just has worked out very well in their favor. I did like that one extraction game. I think that looked kind of cool, but nothing just really stuck out to me. I saw Breath of the Wild too, but like you said, you're not really seeing too much gameplay. You're just seeing a little trailer, and you're gonna get more information later. So it's one of those things where you kind of have your hopes up that these games are gonna come out. They're gonna look great, and no matter what Nintendo does, they're gonna make it where the fans will enjoy it. and people are going to buy the games sight unseen half the time. But E3, like I said, I think you can definitely tell where COVID and different things have hit, because the shows weren't hitting like they usually do. You could see that there's a deficit, and hopefully come around next year we'll pick up and there'll be more of just pushing these bangers out, whatever the games the people have. But that's basically what I have on most of the other shows.
Let's bring Axel in here. Axel, what
Yes,
caught
let me know
your
if you
eye
can
from
hear
the
me
rest
on
of the
this
presentation?
microphone. Let me
Hear
know
you
if you
loud
have
and
any
clear.
static.
Yes, you can hear.
Static
right.
X.
Yeah, well, the other microphone works great, but today it was picking up static. But on this one, I can manually adjust everything. It has like 15 knobs. I don't know. It picks up my fan, and for some reason, I don't like it. I have it sitting on a piece of styrofoam to try to dampen that, but we'll see what happens.
15 knobs. That kind of sounds like some of the PlayStation centric podcasts.
Wow.
What's up for me?
I knew you were going somewhere with that.
You can't. It's the morning show.
Yeah, that's as dirty as I can get with that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What I loved a lot about this E3 that has been absent from the most recent E3s has been release dates and release windows. We got so many hard release dates and so many release windows on almost every single game that was shown by almost every single company. And that just has been lacking. So it gives you something to look forward to. It gives you some planning. Like you can actually plan out your expenses instead of being surprised by them. So that's really cool. The impact of Game Pass. Game Pass is this subscription gaming service. Apple copied it with their, Apple Arcade. And now you have Devolver Digital with their Max Pass going on. So if you're thinking Game Pass isn't affecting the industry, it is. Speaking of Devolver Digital, which had the second best show of the entire E3. I know Terry loved it. They showed this indie called Trek to Yomi. It basically looks like a 2D version of what was that PlayStation game, Ghost of Tsushima. It's in black and white, Japanese, side-scrolly game. It looks amazing. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Trek to Yomi. Of course, Breath of the Wild 2. When I first got my Switch, I played Breath of the Wild nonstop for about a year. That game is phenomenal. And the amount of things you could do on that game was basically just up to imagination. And now that we're getting kind of like the Sky Islands and Breath of the Wild 2, that's going to be kind of cool. And I have faith that Nintendo will make that game incredible because it's very rare, very, very rare that they miss on a Zelda game. What else? Samus, Metroid, not Metroid Prime, unfortunately, but just Metroid. If anybody played the Metroid remake, was it Metroid Fusion on the 3DS? It reminded me a lot of that, but with more cutscenes, especially when you die. Those are kind of brutal for Nintendo. And Battlefield 6 or Battlefield 2042 looks incredible. I just keep looking back at it, just looking at the pure chaos. So yeah, I can't wait for that, for those games. Those are some of the other games that stood out to me. And yeah, that's what I liked about the show other than Xbox.
Nice. All right, let's.
I don't know if I can just jump in for 5 seconds.
Yeah, go
Two
for
more
it.
games that just came to my mind that I wanted to bring up that probably some people probably paid attention, because if you're a retro gamer, everyone knows what Diablo is. Diablo 2 Resurrection, if anyone has seen that, and played Diablo 2 back in the day, this is like a reskinning, a remastering of that original game from 20 years ago. I believe it's 20 years. And it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. It's like, if you liked the graphics on Diablo 3, this is like, it blows that away. And it's basically just a reskinning of 2, and it looks gorgeous. So I can't wait to play that. And a lot of people didn't play this game, and they probably should have. Plague's Tale.
Yes.
Requiem, the sequel to Plague's Tale. What was the first name? Plague's Tale.
Innocence, I think.
Yes,
Yeah,
Innocence. Innocence.
great game. Both
Yes.
great, you know that was
Rats.
a great game. I mean, yeah. I mean, what a weird, what a crazy
Yeah.
type of game. You know, you have a flashlight and you're using light to keep the rats away. I mean,
Mhm.
crazy mechanics, but great game.
You know, I gotta admit, I when I played Plague Tale, I went into that very blind. Like, I mean, like I had really no preconception what the game really was about, other than people said it was awesome. And I remember like playing the first part, and I'm thinking like, you know, like where the dog goes in the hole, and you start out, and I was not expecting this game to basically be like the majority of your enemies are like swarms of rats. I was really like kind of shocked, and it was interesting. Like I said, it was a great game, and the second one is
it was a
kinda
very
cool.
strategic game. A lot of people didn't
Yes.
know that it's strategic. You have to take on different situations different ways.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
That is
I,
cool.
I really hope that Diablo 2 is done well, unlike Warcraft 3. You know, that game looked great, but man, they messed it up.
Right.
Mhm.
So I hope they didn't mess up Diablo 2 too much. I hope the cow level's still in there because we all know how great that was. And, you know, things like that. I just hope that they don't mess it up, that they do it right. Mike Ibarra, I believe, is
Mhm.
now head of Diablo.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's an old Xbox guy. So hopefully he'll do it justice and won't let another Warcraft 3 come out.
Right. I mean, and that was at that stage where we were going from pixel art to 3D as well. So I think that's where they kind of missed the mark. But, you know, we've been doing this type of game for a long time, and I don't know. I from what I've seen, they're on the ball. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. Let's bring Cerebral Paul in here. We brought him back in. Shaddai, we'll get to you in just a second. So you to bounce out when he's on standby. So let's bring in the Cerebral one. Cerebral, what stood out to you that wasn't Xbox related on this particular
Well,
thing?
let me just say real quick that the Rainbow Six thing, the invasion or
Fetch.
whatever it is, that is actually a full blown version of the event they did 2 years ago on Halloween.
Yes,
And
yes.
the response to that event was amazing. That's why they did this. The response was they knew they had something because we all were like, okay, you can't make this go away. You have to, you know, because it only lasted like a month, and then it was gone, and we were like, oh crap, because it's really cool. Other than that, I mean, I liked a lot of the other shows, but I'm actually going to speak to the not necessarily the shows, but the responses in general. Some of the developers, and I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to get a little serious here because
Go
it
ahead.
bugged me. It took away some of the fun out of the show for me. Some of the developers took their time to talk about non-gaming, behind-the-scenes stuff. You know,
Mm.
women in the workplace, accessibility, you know, stuff like that. You know,
Mhm.
just and the fans. The one reason that I'm, you know, that the public can ruin stuff is a lot of the chat was, I thought E3 was all about games and stuff. Here's the thought: if you're not interested in what they're showing you, stop watching. You can come back later. You don't have to sit there and beg people to downvote the thing because you don't like what you're seeing.
Mhm.
Gaming is more than just games. E3 has always had panels about stuff behind the scenes.
Mhm.
All these shows have panels about stuff behind the scenes. If you're not interested in it, you don't go to the panel. You know, that's the way it works. Anybody who's really gone to any of these events knows that. They always offer multiple panels because they know not everything's going to fit for everybody. You know, when
Mhm.
they did the accessibility panels for Microsoft, each day they have like 6 panels. You can only go to 3 of them. So you picked which ones affected you or interested you. If you don't
Mhm.
like one, don't go, period. But don't sit there and bash something and say how bad it is because it sucks because you want to see more game footage.
Mhm.
Stop being a baby, okay? Grow up. To realize that the world does not rotate around you, that there's more to what we do in this hobby than what you see in the end, because stuff has to happen behind the scenes for us to get these games. And in some cases, and Ubisoft is a big example of this, the what happens behind the scenes can affect what we get. And some of that needs to
Mhm.
change. The only way that changes is if it's brought to the light.
Mhm.
That's right.
You know, period.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
That's all it is. You know, if you don't like, I keep saying, don't like it, don't watch it. But don't sit there and bash it and think it's a bad thing. Oh, there was crap because they didn't show any games. All they did was talk about, you know, how bad things can get. Well,
Yeah.
maybe if they didn't have to talk about it, they wouldn't.
Right.
The only way they don't have to talk about it is if you change it. Period.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's all I got to say to that.
Good.
Oh, and if you're one of those people that bitched and moaned the whole time, you know what? You need to look at yourself. Okay? You need to look at what you expect. Yeah.
No,
Preach.
great point, Paul. Great point. There is a lot more stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and sometimes, you know what? As much as you might think it's dull to you, the fact is it does apply to a lot of people, and as well because E3 is one of the biggest stages. This is a place for them just to kind of get that messaging out there. So. You know, it's just part of it. Like you said, if you don't like it, you can always skip forward and come back and watch the stuff that you do care about. Simple as that. Games wise, Paul, anything stick out to you from Square Enix, Capcom?
Plague Tale did amazing because, especially we talked about that. But if you played Plague Tale and you didn't use headphones, go back and play it with headphones because that's the way it's meant to be
100%.
played.
Mhm.
The audio quality in that game was amazing. Like I said, the Rainbow Six thing. None of the Nintendo stuff really struck me. A lot of it looked like rehashed 30-year-old games. But hey, if you want a game watch with 4 games on it, go for it. Just not my thing.
Yeah, what was that?
WarioWare?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? The WarioWare? Yeah, where you pick your nose and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Hey, man, don't bash on the WarioWare. It's actually pretty fun, like with your family.
Well, and I'm sure it is, and it has a place. But for me, Nintendo rides their 30-year-old, 40-year-old coattails into the dirt. You know, it's like bring me something new and exciting that makes me want to go. Hey, I want to get a Switch because right now, I don't see that.
Thanks to Axel, he can pick his nose with his eyes closed.
Hey.
Oh, thanks to
With
WarioWare.
But other than those games, there was nothing that really. I mean, like I said, the Rainbow Six thing caught me, and the other one I mentioned. Other than that, I mean, they were interesting. I liked them. I liked some of what I saw, but nothing that made me go, ooh, ah, wow.
Right.
You know, and I'm not going to sit here and badmouth the ones I didn't like because they just didn't interest me.
Right.
So I went, it's all right. You know.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's bring in. We're going to bring Shaddai back in here, who's on standby. He's been waiting. So I'm just going to bounce up Paul for a real quick second and bring back in Shaddai. Shaddai, how about you, man? Anything stand out to you from Devolver, Capcom, Square Enix, Ubisoft, etc.?
Actually, there's a couple. After hearing Terri, I think it was episode 4, hearing Terri and Axel saying that Devolver Digital show is very cringy. So I got curious and I wanted it to see, I wanted to experience the same thing, which actually it ended up being cringy.
You went into a dark rabbit hole, sir. You should not have done that.
Sometimes
Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. It was the entertainment of the day.
It was it was weird. It was really weird. But other than being weird, the games that they showed, the only one that stuck out to me, that was Shadow Warrior 3. That game, I beat the first one and the second one, and the third one looks phenomenal. And I think there is a indie game that they have that is like a ninja. Anything that is ninja related or samurai, I'm into that. So those are the two.
Trek to Yumi.
Yeah, that whatever that case may be, but you already know. But not for nothing, but those two actually I like from that studio or pretty much publisher. Other than that, Monster Hunter Stories from Capcom I like because it still have the same formula as the other Monster Hunter, but at least it has a story that comes with it, and you can tell that now you get to ride your dinosaur. You could actually pretty much do anything with them. So that's another game that actually caught my eyes. I thought that they were gonna bring Dragon's Dogma, which that was a disappointment. Didn't show. So that I'm like, that's okay. We still have some other bigger games other than Dragon's Dogma. But I never from Ubisoft. There is pretty much nothing. No Splinter Cell again. And Other than that, like I said earlier, from Xbox, there's a lot of them, especially one, a Uden Chronicle. That's another one that I'm waiting for it too. Anything that is RPG, like I said, RPG, JRPGs, especially for Xbox that needs it. That's a huge plus for for Game Pass. Other than Octopath Traveler, that one is a good addition. Never got the chance to see from Square Enix. I couldn't watch it. I think I missed it. Other than Dragon Quest 3 Remaster.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, those are the ones that actually caught my eyes. I'm very surprised that I pick a lot of the indies. Usually, no disrespect for indies. Usually, those are my secondaries. But as time passes and they evolve and the technology, I like the directions that they're actually and the risk that they're actually taking. Actually, this year, things that were missed in 2020, because I remember with my friend I was talking that for years, we always say imagine 2020. How sometimes we say we're gonna be like iRobot, because the technology is so advanced and all that. I can see on games how they have evolved, the smaller ones to the big ones. The question will be is the execution and how good the games are. And I'm with Axel. A lot of the games have been pushed pretty much. They'll say coming next year, 2020, 2022, or is not ready. So I'm with Axel on that one. But for me, those are the ones that actually stuck out on me. Oh, let me add Metroid 2, but there's no Metroid 4 nor Bayonetta 3. That's another one that it was missing. Those are the ones that are missing. No F-Zero. A lot of racing lately. No F-Zero.
Yeah.
From Nintendo, yes, it's Mario Kart, but hello, they have another one that's called F-Zero. But for now, those are the ones that it stuck out for me.
Yeah. Nintendo saw Forza Horizon 5 and they pulled that F-Zero trailer out of the show.
Yeah, we didn't get F-Zero, we just got plain zero.
Pretty much.
Who's yet to chime in here? Terry, I think it is. Okay, go ahead, Terry. Floor's yours.
All right, for me, see, now I am a huge Ubisoft fangirl, so like I tend to play most of their games, so they were my favorite. Yes, I will agree that Xbox had the best show because they had so much to prove. But overall, Ubisoft was my favorite show because they had more games that I know I'm going to play versus everybody else.
Right.
So Rainbow Six Extraction is fantastic. I wasn't able to talk about it because because of the NDA. But now that they actually said everything that I know, I think I'm free to say what I want now. I actually got to play it, a confidential copy of it, well before E3, before they even changed the title. And that game is freaking awesome. I love that it's 100% co-op. There's no PvP, which is fantastic for me because I'm not real big on the PvP stuff. So I'm super into doing this. It's a game that I can play with my buddies who also don't like PvP. So now we can still have that great team experience. The next one that I was really excited about, that I've been excited about, is actually New World. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on this game. New World is the new MMO that's coming out from Amazon Studios. I actually have the deluxe edition pre-ordered since last year. I'm super excited for this game. It comes out here in August. So I'll have a brand new game to play here in like 2 months. So I'm super pumped. That game looks so good. It looks so good. It already looked good when I played it last time. Like I got to play the alpha or whatever, and then they're gonna have the closed beta here coming up for those that pre-order. And I can see what stuff they changed to it, but I'm super excited for that. And then, because I'm a Ubisoft fangirl, I have to put in Riders Republic. I love like my sports games, like my like car stuff and things like that. So I was a huge fan of Steep. Steep was fantastic. So Riders Republic is basically, to me, Riders Republic is the sequel to Steep. Instead of doing winter games, now we're getting more summer games. So you're biking and skateboarding and all that good fun stuff, along with some winter stuff still in there. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And they fixed the co-op aspect because in Steep, when you did co-op, you kind of just raced down the hill. This time you actually are competing with each other, you know, versus just having the best time. So this is going to be fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, my number one because is going to be Far Cry 6. I'm so hyped for that game. I just want it now. So Far Cry 6 is my most anticipated game right now that I know that I'm supposed to get this year. I have plenty of other games I want, but those are still going to be a little ways out. But Far Cry 6, I gotta have it. I want it. I need it. My life isn't complete until I get to play it. So yes, that's pretty much everything there. Like, yeah, I'm all about Ubisoft. I can't pass up Ubisoft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for that stuff, man.
Right.
It.
Nice. Hey, real quick, Terry. You said New World, the Amazon game. Did they show that? Because all I saw was that Storm game.
They did a deep dive during E3.
I saw that too.
Really? I'm gonna have to look that one up. I thought that the beta went really bad on that.
No, it went really good.
I know there was another MMO that had technical difficulty, but they pulled it out. But I think it was shown from Stadia, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah, it was something else.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're
Amazon
Studios.
Amazon Studios is definitely struggling right now. Every game that they've made so far has failed and has been canceled before release. New World is the only one that's been keeping steam. You know, so I'm so happy. I'm so happy for them because they've had a lot of amazing games, but they all had to like cancel them out right before release day. So I'm like, dang.
Do you think that's a good thing that they don't want their first game to be bad? Like they really want to hit it out of the park. I think technically that's a good thing.
Yeah, but it sucks though because they had a couple of them that were pretty good, but they just couldn't get the player base to support them.
Right.
Right. Well, I hope they succeed because Amazon, they're this big company, but the more people we have in gaming making games, hey, it's all better for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, before we move on to the next segment of the show, I'm going to just chime in here real quick, and I'm trying to make this quick. Square Enix, blah, blah, blah. Pretty boring overall, but I will give them credit. At least they showed Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm excited for that. Jago Kukin is in the chat. What's going on, brother Jago? He brought that one up as well. So, yeah, I'm obviously excited for Guardians. I'm always excited anytime we see a superhero game. But the deal is I just hope that this is done legitimately the right way and not the way that Crystal Dynamics went out when it comes to the Avengers. I hope it's not that way, please, because I'm going to be definitely getting my homework on this game before I drop down another $80-$90 to go play it. This better not be a collect-a-thon kind of deal. I'm not down for that. So we'll see. Maybe it uses the same formula, or maybe they learned a lesson or two from the Avengers and its poor reception after its initial launch week. I'll go with Terry as well. Ubisoft had a pretty solid show. I would say easily the second best show outside of Xbox. They had some great stuff. Obviously, Far Cry 6 is still a pinnacle game on their schedule this year. I'm excited for that. We got to see Giancarlo himself come out, and I'm very excited about the game for people to play it. Looks really awesome. That what do you call it? I'm thinking Microsoft Shredders. What was that one? The Riders Republic.
Yeah, Riders Republic.
That looked like an absolute blast. That looked like a kind of game that you would hope comes to Game Pass eventually to find a bigger audience. That looks like an absolute dynamite thing. Once again, no Sam Fisher at E3, no Splinter Cell. I don't know what's going on. I mean, that's all they needed. That's the thing for if Ubisoft. Like, I don't like between them and Nintendo. Are they not listening to fans anymore? Is it just like?
Let's be honest. Do you really think that they're taking more time to pretty much make Beyond Good and Evil 2, which they actually show Ubisoft
that
and put Sam Fisher to the to the side?
They do have Beyond Good and Evil 2 as well as Skull and Bones still being worked on, in the background, and they got the new Prince of Persia they're working on still too. That was supposed to come out this year that they had to push back. So they have a lot on their plate right now.
But I also think they could still just say, oh, by the way, in 2025, and show the 3 green lights, and then everybody would shut up. Okay, we got something coming.
Yeah, but if they don't have any concrete plan to actually do it, they just do that, then they don't make it. Then you're gonna have people up mad at So that's not good either.
But how many things have we seen at E3 that never went fruition anyway? But my thing is, it's almost starting to feel like EA, where they have this thing they're sitting on to kill it, not to use it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think they're playing it safe right now. They want to bring back Prince of Persia because that has been something that the fans have been wanting for even longer than Splinter Cell. So I think they're going to try to test the waters and make sure that's successful before
Right.
they bring back Splinter Cell.
So that means if they bring Prince of Persia, that means that will be the end of Assassin's Creed.
I don't think so. Assassin's
No,
Creed makes
no,
them so
definitely
much
not.
money. I
That's
seriously
their
doubt that, dude.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed is their biggest
Remember,
flagship
supposedly
game.
Assassin's Creed came from Prince of Persia, and if they're gonna bring it back, they can make a lot of changes that probably gonna put that pretty much to rest.
Did
See,
they ever release? Sorry,
Honestly.
did they ever release
Yeah.
the Sands of Time remake?
No,
No.
and that's a good one, the one that you just mentioned,
Yeah.
Jay. And
Mm-hmm.
And I've been waiting for that forever.
That's what they're doing right now.
We've been waiting for a lot of Ubisoft. Like I said, Beyond Good and Evil has been how long?
The new Prince of Persia that they're making right now, that's supposed to come out this year, is a Sands of Time remake, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a.
They're doing it right now. Yeah, they're doing it right now.
I think at the end of the day, like, and this is the thing, like Microsoft came out and delivered a pretty good show, and I know that's Microsoft, but at the end of the day, they got more moving parts than just about any other company, and they came out with a show. Other people just kind of took the whole, well, it's COVID, let's take this one off. Like, you already had last year basically off because it was canceled. So you would think that a lot of the work that most of these teams had put together for E3 last year that really didn't get shown would have shown up here. So, like, I don't know what's going on if it's not their priority. And this will come down to that whole E3 relevance thing. I mean, E3 isn't just about, like, E3, the E is also should stand for excitement. It's about driving excitement. It's not just showing a game that's 6 months away. It's about keeping your fan base invested. It's about getting people excited, that sort of thing. And some of these companies don't seem to get that. I understand, yes, there can be a backlash when you show something and it's 5 years away from fruition. I totally understand that. But in this case, like, when you're sitting on one of the largest properties, one of the most iconic game characters, and the fans are crying. I mean, how many podcasts in the last 3-4 years have we heard say, my God, we need Sam Fisher back, and we don't see that? I mean, how many missed opportunities? Again, I say there's no excuse, because how many Assassin's Creed games have we seen from these guys? But yet, Splinter Cell is not in the, can't even get one game. We had no game, guys. Just again, not one Splinter Cell game in the entire last generation. Think about that. That blows my mind. Like, that's like Nintendo not making a Mario Kart game for a whole generation, which never happens, right? Well, technically, they really have
it feels like they're sitting on it and nobody knows why.
See, I don't think though, because they've missed one generation and not having it. Like I said, Prince of Persia has been missing longer than that.
That is true.
And they're bringing it back. Look at how long Kingdom Hearts fans had to wait to get Kingdom Hearts 3. They had to wait like forever. Look at now we got, the remake of Final Fantasy 7, which fans have been wanting that for over 20 years for that to get remade. So I mean, we haven't been waiting that long for Splinter Cell. As much as people want to keep crying, we really haven't been waiting that long for Splinter Cell. We've been waiting way long for way more.
2013 to now is pretty long.
If they
not compared to these other games that people have been waiting for, that they finally got, like Prince of Persia. They've been waiting for that for way longer than 2013.
Go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, but all you needed to do, if you know you're at least making a Splinter Cell, this is the thing. If at least there's one in the pipeline, is come out and reinforce your fans. That's it. That's all you need, is to come out and go, you know what? Guy gets on stage, makes a video and goes, guess what, guys? We haven't forgotten about Sam. He's back. And Michael Ironside comes out and goes, I'm coming back. And that's all you need.
And I
don't think they have anything.
Isn't that what Xbox did? Isn't that what Phil Spencer did? Or like, we're still working on Fable. We're still working on this. Trying to make sure that the fans know that even though that it wasn't shown on the pretty much on E3 digital, but he still mentioned that he was still working at hard. So at least it gave him a heads up to them.
Yeah, you know what?
We're listening to you. We're listening to you. We hear
Nixon
you.
in the chat probably has a point here. Maybe they're trying to figure out how they can turn Splinter Cell into the next multiplayer, like friggin' season mode game to milk the player base.
I hope not. I really hope they never go multiplayer.
You mean Sam Fisher as a service?
You
Oh,
sandfish
God,
as a service.
no.
Yeah,
I hope,
yeah.
I hope
Things
they
that are
never do
holding
that. I
back
hope they never
Splinter
ever do
Cell.
that.
Is that
Yes,
everybody
pay
expects
$50.
these open worlds, and Ubisoft is now known for open worlds. It's hard
Yeah.
to make an open world spy, espionage,
Don't
stealthy
do open
game.
world.
I don't think they're gonna do
I-
that. I
They
don't
created
think they will do that.
Wildlands.
But it's
But,
not. It's not stealthy and spy. Like the closest game that has come was what was that? Metal Gear 5
Yeah, you're talking
open
about
world.
Phantom Pain.
Phantom
Hell,
Pain was pretty open
Assassin's
world,
Creed
and
hasn't
that
been
got mixed
yeah,
reviews.
Assassin's
And
Creed
then,
hasn't
well,
been
not really. It
stealthy
got
forever.
praised reviews,
Assassin's
but
Creed hasn't been stealthy in
Yeah.
a long, long time.
yeah. But the players themselves didn't agree with the reviewers.
Yeah.
But also, I agree with Nick's that Ubisoft has to think of a way to monetize it, because that's really the way games are being funded these days.
Yeah. It's sad because like those games like that, games that have that huge name, that huge property, don't need like that extra push or have to go those routes. It's like I always said with Star Wars. Star Wars doesn't need to nickel and dime for microtransactions because it's Star Wars. It's going to sell like hotcakes, even if it was a turd in a bag. It's going to sell. It's like anything Nintendo touches. It can be turd. It's going to sell because it's got Nintendo on it. So, but not to get off topic here, guys, and turn this into a Splinter Cell debate. That's for another day. But I'll just get back to saying with the shows. Like I said, Square Enix, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Ubisoft had a pretty strong show. Loves the Far Cry, loved again the Riders Republic, the few and so forth. Nintendo's Direct was not overly direct. It was to the point, I suppose, but pretty boring. Like Nintendo is that company that like obviously they're part of the big three, right? Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony. And there was no hardware, but that was kind of disappointing. I mean, I think it's probably one of the worst kept secrets in the industry that Nintendo's probably got another piece of hardware, but why didn't they give us a glimpse? I figured the reason they didn't tease us with it is one, because they have so much Switch inventory right now, and Switch is still selling like hotcakes, that they didn't want to come out and sort of ruin that. To ruin that going into the holiday season. I think they're like, you know what, we'll just stay the course. Keep promoting the regular Switch, sell through as much inventory as we can here by making bundles or whatever. And then next year at some point in time, perhaps, coinciding with a Breath of the Wild launch, that's when they'll go, well, here's our new, higher end Switch kind of deal. So they're being strategic there, but the rest of the games are just so lackluster. It was great to see Metroid back. Don't get me wrong, but like, I think a lot of the fans right now have been very vocal that they prefer to see more of a sequel to Metroid Prime as opposed to another 2D game that looks like it could have come off the Game Boy Advance kind of deal. Like, hey man, they're cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure lots of people will buy it and they'll love it, but I don't know. I just feel like Nintendo has so many missed opportunities. Capcom's another one. They should be coming out and hitting home runs, and nothing really overly exciting there, at least on my perspective. I mean, Resident Evil out now, but they're sitting on so many great games. I mean, bring back Final Fight, and it's good to see like Ghosts and Goblins coming back. That game just dropped here a few weeks back, but yeah, it just felt like this E3 was so many missed opportunities, and I'm sure a lot of it, yes, they're saying E3, but you kind of got to worry, like, well, where's the rest of the stuff? Where's the stuff you've been working on? Is this just an easy scapegoat for people to be like, we don't care about E3 kind of deal? I don't know, but I'll leave it on that. I wasn't overly impressed with anybody's shows outside of Microsoft, and we still have yet to see what's coming from Sony. They miraculously got 25 games, they tell us, but couldn't even make a 30-minute presentation to show us a couple of them. So I don't know what's going on there. So kudos to Microsoft for, like I said, stepping up to the plate where other people basically didn't even bother to show up in the ballpark. So
I don't want to bring this conversation to a downer, but I was curious to know, were there any games that were anticipated and then shown, and then you were kind of disappointed with what you saw? Because I have one major one that I wanted to bring up.
Go for it, Jay.
And like I said, I'm not trying to bring people down here, but who likes Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, who doesn't?
Elden Ring comes out.
I don't.
Okay, so a lot of people were looking forward to Elden Ring, right? And then they finally showed something, and then as soon as they showed that it was like a Souls game, I was like, I'm out. It really disappointed me that it was going to become a Souls game. I was thinking it was going to be going in a different direction. I don't.
I think they actually say it was going to be like that.
They've clarified that already. It's not going to be a Souls game. They're making it co-op. It's going to have different options and features to make it a lot easier comparatively to the Souls style games. So it's not going to be a Souls game.
No, I'm glad you said that.
It has that dark, gritty look, atmosphere of a Souls game, but playing it won't feel like a Souls game. That's what they've already reiterated that, especially with the co-op experience.
You've relieved me and you've made me happy. So thank you so much.
Good.
Yeah.
Ooh, so I can almost go an entire show without using the phrase roguelike. Yeah.
Sorry, Paul. What is that term you're using? I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Roguelike.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson, man. From software games will never get another purchase for me. I just can't do them. You know, they're amazing in their own right. I think they're phenomenal graphically and stuff, but I just don't, you know, like, to me, that's the video game equivalent of getting kicked in the sack like over and over again and going, yeah, I love it. Come on, let's go. No, man. I just can't do it, man. Sorry. I've tried, and Sekiro was the one that baited me in the most. And I was like, no, dude, I'm sorry, man. Like, I went and played Ghost of Tsushima. It's like, yeah, man, Ghost of Tsushima just takes a dump all over this. It's, in my opinion, okay? Don't take that the wrong way. People love Sekiro, but I just can't do From, man. They give you one option. It's for people that got either amazing skills or the patience of I don't know what, the patience of a sloth or some friggin' thing. I don't know what the deal it is, man. Come on.
Of a sloth?
It's the equivalent of, how many times are you going to be Charlie Brown and let Lucy pull that ball out from under you before you kick her in the head? You know,
that's the big bragging rate. Oh, look, I finished these super hard games 1,000,000 times. Well, good for you. You got more time than me because you can spend 3 hours playing one boss, and you're like, yeah, beat the boss, 3 hours.
I know how that feels. It took me 1 month just to be my first boss.
That don't sound like fun to me. Maybe I'm weird, but
no, I'm there with you. Like, I really enjoy challenging games, but I'm not a fan of the Souls style games. And I played Sekiro from start to finish, and I hated it the whole way through. But I wanted to, you know, people were like, "Oh, you're soft. You don't like games, this or that." So I had to prove to other people that no, I can play these games. I just don't like them. Yeah. So I played through Sekiro.
I'm watching people play that Returnal game, and all it looks like is an astronaut with a gun trying to avoid like 1,000,000 kids with their bubble blowers. It's just bubbles and shots coming across the screen. It's like, what is this, like a techno rave game or something? What the heck?
Well, I can't say nothing about that because I'm actually playing Recore, and it's the same pretty much thing. So
I loved Recore. I loved that game. Like, that game got a lot of hate, but I loved it.
Yeah.
It was good.
Not to get off topic.
I want to bounce back. I kind of want to bounce back to what Jay was saying about asking if there were any games that we were seeing that we got more disappointed with. And for me, it's actually Atomic Heart. The more they show it, the more disinterested I get in that game, man. Like, it just looks more and more like, what are you doing? Where are you going with this? It just seems so spontaneous and random that I don't even know what they're doing in that game anymore. I'm just so confused.
Were you a fan of the BioShock series?
Yes, I love BioShock, and that's why I have no clue what's going on in Atomic Heart. I'm completely confused. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. I don't know what they're doing in that game.
I think I know what it is.
I feel like someone's trying to out Kojima a little bit.
Is that possible?
They're trying.
That is not Death Stranding.
It looks great. They got great visuals. They got some weirdness going on with some of the setups with the gameplay, but like you said, it's like, what is it? What is going on? So until you get some of maybe a story beat here or there or a breakdown, it's going to be kind of hard figuring out what's the story. But it looks interesting, to say the least. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we've all said pretty much everything that needs to be said on this one. I'll just check in with Axel first here. So just give me a second here. Let's bring in Axel. And 1 sec here. And let's see if he's got anything further to say. So you just jump out Jay and bring in Axel. There we go. Hey. Axel, anything further to say on any of these matters before we just kind of move it right along here?
Yes, all of you need to get good. Every single last one of you. Here's the thing, you know, like I'm an old school gamer. I play games like Mega Man, which are require preciseness. Anybody remember how hard the original Ninja Gaidens were? And I'm talking the Nintendo Entertainment System Ninja Gaidens.
Yeah, the camera angles were terrible.
Yeah.
No. I'm talking the Nintendo ones. It had respawning enemies. It had, if you didn't go through a certain level so quick, a dove would kill you, just flat out. You had to get those lightning reflexes and not make mistakes. And the controls were tight. So that's what I love about the Souls games, is that even though they're hard, the controls are on spot. If you die, it's because of you. Like, I remember Sekiro, I discovered the Lady Butterfly area way too early in the game. It took me 3 days to beat her, and I was severely underpowered. I saw people online beating her like in 5 minutes. It took me 20 minutes of fighting her to beat her. That's how badly underpowered I was. My attack wasn't beefed up or anything. And then I beefed up my attack and went back to her. And man, 5 minutes. That's all it took.
Yeah.
But I remember that. So you can play a Souls game without powering anything up. You just got to be really on point. So I really like the Souls games. And I really like these. I hate to say it, but it's almost like a masochist inside of me. That's just
that's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is.
Well, the Elden Ring is 4-player co-op, though, isn't it? Is it going to be legitimate co-op this time? The Elden Ring?
Oh man, that's gonna be fun.
I think they said 2, but maybe it's 4.
I thought it said 4-player co-op on this one.
Maybe.
That'd be kind of wild.
I will carry you through Elden Ring.
I just know that they did say, despite the fact that there's no difficulty for Elden Ring, they said it will be the easiest game. And you know how people always say Sekiro is the easiest Souls game? This is going to be easier than Sekiro. So if you found Sekiro to be easy, then Elden Ring is going to be even easier. All right.
So that means you can't go any higher than easy. You got to pretty much stick on training mode then.
Any easier, it would be called journalist mode. Okay.
But just so you know, y'all are starting to sound a little insulting to those of us who really can't play games on anything but easy.
There you go.
Okay. Just so you know, you're reaching a fine line because of the things you're saying. It's almost insulting to me. I do the best I can, but by no choice of my own, I can never, quote, get good. Okay.
Well, Paul, this is the big reason we have you on the panel, sir, because you can add that insight that the rest of us look at through a totally different lens. And that's a great point, because for someone like Paul, he might love to play a Dark Souls game or love to get into them, but the accessibility is not for him. It's there for, like I said, other people, but for him, it's even harder.
Yeah, but this at least for me, I can't talk for anybody else. At least for me, when I'm talking about this, I'm not trying to say that playing a game on easy is bad. What I'm saying is these games are known for being challenging, regardless. So if you're going in expecting it to be as challenging as you would expect for a From Software game, you're not going to get it this time around. So it's not a crack on people for you not having an easy mode. It's a crack on you're not going to get what you're expecting, because they've already said that they're making it more casual based.
Yeah,
but there have been entire discussions online that they should never add an easy mode. That they should leave it hard because that's the way the game is.
Yeah,
there's going to be those people. Just like with Returnal, there was backlash with Returnal about people wanting difficulty setting and other people having pushback.
This goes back to what Phil was saying. There's over that identify as disabled. There's over 300,000 gamers. Do you really want to shut that many people out of your game? Seriously,
you should not.
Yeah, you should do whatever it takes.
My favorite gaming franchise, Halo. Anybody remember Halo 2 on Legendary mode? Those Jackal snipers would end your life.
I just say this: every game should have adaptable AI. What that means is they don't even need a mode as much as they can go in and say, like, the game realizes when players struggle, and then they switch things up a little bit. So perhaps that boss doesn't take a half an hour to beat anymore. Perhaps like your weapons automatically, like, this is not somebody that, the game has algorithms. They can tell who's kind of wiping the floor with things and who's not. And I think for personally, all they need for me, and this is just me, but for the From games, is just a save anywhere point. So, kicked, I don't have to go back to checkpoint A, because like I'm trying to play Bloodborne, And like the other night or the last time I played this game, I got fairly far and I was getting kind of happy. I was like, yeah, I'm doing okay now. But then I got to the sewers and these giant werewolves killed me. And then I had to go all the way back to this asinine start point, and all the enemies start back over again. I'm like I can't do that, man. Like, just put a save anywhere so that when I get into an area where I'm kind of like, I think I'm going to get my butt kicked, I'll save it and then start up if I die. If I die 20 times, at least I start in that spot. I don't,
Right.
It's not like, this isn't a 16-bit era when you had to play the game from start to finish in 3 hours or less. Like, come on, man.
No, there's some games I'm playing now that do that. They kick you back and you lose 20 minutes of playtime, and it's like, okay, this just I'm not doing this. I'm not.
Yeah, you know which game I never finished, but I want to finish is Cuphead, and Cuphead is hard. It's like 2 to 3 minute boss. It's a boss rush game of 2 to 3 minutes between each boss. But man, they are so hard, and you
very
got to
punishing,
be
yes.
like pixel
I
perfect.
never finished it either. I'm right there with
I
you.
can't play Cuphead. As
Yeah, and I
beautiful
wish
as it
I
is,
could, so I
as
agree with
beautiful
Paul.
as it is, I can't even play it.
At this point, I've tried it, and I wish that they would put like some mode for those of us that want to see the levels, want to see the animation, want to experience it ourselves. And I agree with Paul. It excludes gamers, especially gamers who need accessibility. And they should definitely put adaptive difficulty. And like Mortal Kombat has adaptive difficulty. If you get your butt kicked over and over and over again, I think 3 times by the same character, it lowers the difficulty without you knowing. So yeah, I think that's good.
Alrighty.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to bring in.
Depending on how you have it set, it may even give you a heads up and say, hey, it looks like you're having a problem. Would you like to drop the difficulty?
Exactly.
It also goes the other way and says, hey, you're kicking their ass. Would you like to raise the difficulty?
That's my favorite. That's my favorite prompt to get, but I've only ever gotten it once.
No, like I said, and don't get me wrong. I'll restate again. This is nobody saying these games are bad or they don't have their place. They just should be more optional. But again, we seem to be in a very select few. It seems the hardcore are just like, nah, dude, you just need to practice and get better. Paul put it quite eloquently. Like that's not always an option for everybody. That just like sports games now, they have sliders. You can adjust every little thing to make it tailor-made to the way you want to play. And there's a lot of other games that do that as well, or games that at least recognize that you're struggling and then say, you know what, would you like to adjust the difficulty? We're giving you that option. Adaptable AI, it's not unheard of where the AI will actually tone itself back, or they throw less enemies at you on a screen and different things. So these are all things that can be done to make games more playable. As far as the From guys or the stockholders, would you not think that like having this game sell an extra 5 million copies because it appeals to more players than just the really hardcore and the devout faithful would not be a good thing for them?
No, because it's about the purity of the game to them. This is what they do. This is how they do their games. They have a built base that is going to buy their games regardless, but because of the challenge that they do it.
What they're known for.
That's what they're known for. So I don't think they're ever going to do that.
Yes, you could say that they're excluding gamers, but at the same time, they want to make a game that is brutal because they want to appeal to the gamers that want that additional challenge that they might, get bored when things can get.
But that's just the thing. The challenge will still be there for them, though.
They'll never reach the next level because, like, Microsoft won't do that. Microsoft has a list of things going, this is what you need to do in your game. Period.
I hear you, but I mean...
they're definitely niche. They're definitely niche.
Not everything has to appeal to everyone, though. So it's kind of unfair for us to say that, hey, you have to make your game available to everybody, because they don't. They can make it for whoever they want to.
Well, then they live with those limitations, too. Like you said, if they want to lose millions of dollars in sales because they're not going to... because they have a vision and they want to stick to that vision.
Every game they drop is hugely successful. So yeah, they may be losing money because other people aren't buying it, but they're not losing money because they're always making a huge profit anyway.
That's true.
So they're not failing at all. Yeah, am I going to buy the game? No, but I mean, I'm not mad at them because I'm not going to play the game.
It'll be a scenario like Battlefield. The new Battlefield game is coming out. How many people are not going to pick that game up because they decided they're going to get rid of the campaign? Well, guess what? I'm that guy right here. You guys will not catch me playing it.
Picking it up. I'm not
picking it up on sale.
There's going to be
can suck my dink.
It'll
There's
be on
gonna be
Game
more
Pass in
people.
It'll be on Game Pass in 6 months.
Yeah.
I'll play it then.
There going to be more people that buy the game who said they wasn't than the ones who say they weren't and never did pick it up. It's just the going saying, I think, too.
Those Call of Duty games I said I'd never buy because they skipped the campaign, which was probably only one game. But guess what? I never played it, never bought it, never played it, and don't intend to. You know what? I will speak with my wallet every damn time.
FOMO gets a lot of people. So same thing with the Souls game. A lot of people buy the game just to see how hard they are. So they're getting a sale right then and there, and somebody might never finish the game. And like I said, those are people that just love to get hit across the head over and over and over again.
Yeah. Amazing how the show goes from an E3 discussion into a debate about game difficulties and accessibility. That's interesting. Speaking of accessibility, Paul, you didn't have anything on this aspect today, or no? You didn't say anything,
not really.
or
No, not
Okay.
really. I mean, there's nothing.
I was
nothing really
backstage when
changing
you
or
guys.
coming up.
I was backstage when you guys were discussing the whole accessibility thing, and I just wanted to pipe in that
Yes.
a lot of people don't realize that Ninja Gaiden Black from the Xbox 360. If you die 3 times, you put you in dog mode, which was easy mode. Which, guess what?
Love that
I
mode.
died on purpose 3 times so I could be put into dog mode so I could finish that game.
You know, and I was just saying in the chat that maybe they need to put a little check mark in the options for those of us that don't want to be dropped down to dog mode. You know, for those of us that want the purity of it, quote unquote, the purity, right?
I don't think they give you an option. I think when they kick you to dog mode, it asks you if you want to go to that mode.
Yeah, I think it does give you the option.
Yeah, no. I like to. I'm not doing it for anybody except myself, and like I said, it's probably because I'm this old school gamer that has been challenged since the very first video game he picked up. My very first video game was Mega Man 2. I mean, that's a hard game to be your first game.
I know.
Oh yeah, very hard.
Yeah, so I think it's just like programmed into me to games are challenging, but if they have tight controls, there's no reason why I shouldn't beat it. I'm gonna beat this game, and yeah, games have beat me. Dark Souls, I put that down for like 3 years. Cuphead, still haven't beat it, probably never will, but I want to, and it's just like programmed into me. I'm like, I haven't beaten Cuphead, I should probably get back into it, and that's just the kind of gamer I am. And I'm not saying that anybody needs to be excluded. Like playing Halo 2 on Legendary, I did that one time and one time only before achievements were a thing, and I am never doing it again.
Something some people have to take into consideration is that the longer you take to finish a game, the bigger your backlog gets. So I like to try to finish games as fast as I can to get to the next game.
Amen. Preach. Yeah, and with the Cuphead difficulty thing, dude, that game is hard too. I totally get it. It's kind of like old school hard. A lot of it's just memory, muscle, and that sort of thing. But the thing with Cuphead that makes it more tolerable is that Cuphead, I mean, one, it's flawless controls. It's just on point. It's just an amazing artistic style game.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous game. Like so well done. And most importantly, the levels aren't that long. So when you die, it's not like oh my god, I just lost 40 minutes of progress and starting over. Like literally, you can play them to die and then come back 3 minutes later. You're at the end of the level or whatever. So that's the thing. Like it's the quick investment. So that's the difference. Like I said, From Software, it's not the difficulty so much it drives me. It's again, they should have at least the option to put in something like a save anywhere. So that way you're not losing constant progress. That's a big thing for me. Some games have it. Like when I can tell you with Splinter Cell, I hated that franchise up until Chaos Theory. And you know why? Because in the original couple of Splinter Cell games, if you died, you had to start right way back at a whatever checkpoint. And then in Chaos Theory, they came up with the save anywhere. So that made the stealth a lot more enjoyable, because if I frigged up, I wasn't constantly being punished. I was like, okay, you know what? I did this last time and I screwed up. Now I'm going to go over and try something different, and I'll save my game. If I mess up, I ain't going way back to the start of this level and doing this all over again. And they had some really stupid AI in the first couple of Splinter Cell games where it was just like you had to be a certain way or you're always detected. Like it was just So, but yeah, I'm getting off topic, but
for the people that loved Cuphead but didn't like to be punished, guess what? There's going to be a television show, so you can watch the television show. And
there you go.
Yes, on Netflix. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Who is it? Brent. Who is it? Brady, something Brady.
Wayne Brady.
Wayne Brady. Yes, he's going to be the voice of King Dice.
Yeah,
That's going to be cool.
it's gonna be very cool.
I'm saying Cuphead is tougher in co-op, and it might be right. I tried playing it with a friend here in my house on co-op, and I struggle because you can't see. Like when you have the extra character, it actually gets confusing because you're like,
You can't move past the screen if they're back there. Yeah,
if they're
That
back,
is correct.
and then you got somebody else that's jumping on your screen and firing weapons, and it's just like I actually found it was harder with an extra person because it's chaotic, fun, but holy man.
Or
The
they
patterns are
or
less
they do it like
more random.
Contra, even though it's not that you
Right.
can't pass whatever. You know, if you fall behind, you're gonna die automatically, and you keep on going like they did on Contra.
But one good thing about playing co-op with Cuphead is you can revive the other character, which is cool.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yes, that is neat. Yes, gives you extra chances. All right, well, so we're at the 2-hour point. Did anybody have a community spotlight this week? I think most people have done one already, so it'd be a great time to drop one now. If so, hey, Lady Foxfire is in the house. What's going on, Lady Foxfire? Now, there's a person I would love to get back on a podcast. It's been way too long. Speaking of the console corner, she brings it right back. Here she is, console corner girl herself in the chat. Lady Foxfire, what's going on? Dreadpool's hanging out with us too. Dread, we saw you in the chat lurking, bro. Don't worry, we knew you're there. Good brother. Yeah. So who had the spotlight this week, or nobody's ready to roll?
I don't think we had one this week.
Yeah, because mine got pushed forward because somebody skipped a week a couple weeks ago. So
okay, so you're nobody has one then for today, then. Okay, that's fine. I got to keep a list of these things too because I know Axel did his. I did mine. Shaddai did his. Yeah, you did yours. So we're
Actually,
waiting
you did
on
a great job on yours, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I think mine was the best one. I think it was the best community spotlight ever.
So Scrub, who's in it? Scrub and Terry, then have to do one.
Yeah, I can do mine next week.
All righty. So that's what we'll do. We'll put you down, and then we'll finish off with Terry's then. So good stuff. All right. Before let's, I think we're just about ready to get out of here. But before we do, let's give this the round table discussion here on E3 and its relevance. How does people feel about it? Is there still a need to bring these things out? More and more companies, publishers are doing their own little shows now, their own version of it. Do you think they largely do that so they can avoid the spotlight? As opposed, because as personally, it's what I kind of think a lot of them do is they do it so that they avoid that direct comparison and that who won E3 kind of crap. So if they do their own little thing away from the main shows, it's harder to ridicule. It's because then it's in a controlled environment. They don't have to worry about so many things going wrong or the perception. So we'll start with Shaddai on this one and go around, and then we'll bring Terry in here as well. So Shaddai?
For me, E3, is it relevant? Well, you know what? We're so used to being
relevant or irrelevant? Which
it's relevant because the reason, I'll tell you why. People like myself, we wish for years to pretty much go to Los Angeles and be at E3.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people love to actually go physically there, experience there, all the works, and meet a lot of people. Digital is okay. It's okay to do it, but there are things that probably, I don't know if they're the same thing, but I guess they have some type of time limit to show a lot of things compared probably when you're physical. That's why you get backstage to see some things that digital can't do unless, like they're trying to do right now, unless if you're trying to file some type of application so you could see things that are behind the scenes. So for me, E3 is actually relevant just because of the experience, the stuff that they will show, other than pretty much whatever you want to buy. But other than that, you get to see a lot of things, explore, see new games, physically try them yourselves. That's for me, that would be for me to say, like I said, is relevant. I don't know about you guys, how you feel about those things.
right, well, you can have a chance to answer. Cerebral Paul.
Yo, I think it can be relevant. I think the companies that choose not to go, I think they like putting themselves in an echo chamber, because when they don't go, they get a very select audience and everybody's rah rah rah. Yeah, Sony, I'm talking to you. You know,
Mhm.
and because they don't want to, they don't like to be criticized. I think putting them in a show with other people showing stuff back to back can serve a purpose. I think, all these little individual shows are nice, but what's wrong with showcasing with everybody else? Why do
Mhm.
you want to? Because there's a lot of people who won't tune into just a Sony showcase because they're anti-Sony or whatever. But there's a lot of people who won't tune into the other stuff because they're so pro Sony or whatever that they don't care about the other stuff. So they shut themselves in. They tunnel themselves in. I think they need to go back to in person. Because like I said earlier, if anything, this showed me that sometimes the public just doesn't understand what they're seeing.
Mhm.
They think that it's all games, and there's nothing more to it. There's more.
Mhm.
There's way more
Yeah.
to it.
Mhm.
So I think they either need to get the public to understand that, educate the public, or just go back to what they used to do. The only way you got in was you were invited, or you got your press credentials or whatever, and you went to the floor. You did the press releases for them, basically.
Mhm.
So I think it could still serve a purpose.
Perfect. Well said, Paul. Let's get Terri in here with her thoughts on E3 and its relevance or lack thereof.
Okay, so I'm the person with unpopular opinions. Those who have been following me for a while, I know I'm new to a lot of you here, but for those who have been following me, I have been saying that E3 has been irrelevant for the last 3+ years. I've before COVID, I was already talking about how we don't need E3 anymore. And now COVID has actually opened the eyes for the people to start seeing what I was already seeing, 2-3 years ago. Yeah, it's not needed. It's a lot of money that these companies are kind of just blowing away that they could better invest in the studios and the employees. Look at Microsoft, for example. I think it might have been 2018's E3. I could be mistaken. They spent over $100 million on their 30-minute little thing, so they could have a McLaren on the stage. Like, that's not necessary. Imagine how much money they could have put if they had reinvested that money into their studios and their games. That would have been phenomenal. Imagine what they could have accomplished instead of blowing $100 million on a car on a stage. You know what I mean? It's just unnecessary for 30 minutes when they could get the same amount of publicity having a nice little produced announcement video, throwing on their official YouTube channel. They would still get all the same hype. All the journalists would still talk about it. I mean, we already see devs will post things on Twitter, and the journalists are writing about it. You don't need E3 for fans to get hyped. If 343 dropped a Halo thing on Twitter, before E3, the fans would eat that up. They would be just as hyped from that as they would seeing something at E3. E3 is not needed. It's a waste of money. We already hear about, a lot of these companies where the devs aren't getting paid very well right now. There's been cutbacks and things. Well, maybe if these companies weren't throwing millions of dollars for a 30-minute showcase, they could reinvest that into their workforce a little bit better, and we would get, it would just be better overall. EA stopped doing E3 long before Sony dropped out. And they haven't suffered. Their games are doing fine without an E3. People are hyped for, their games without E3. Sony doing their stuff in-house saves them money. They're not spending the millions of dollars showing off their games at E3. Now they can do it in their own thing. Nintendo has their Treehouse thing. Xbox has their own show that they've done outside of E3 that they can still do.
Right.
It's not needed. It's something that people like because they like the spectacle. But we don't need a spectacle to get hyped. Because like I said, if you can get hype off of a GIF that was shown on Twitter like last night, you don't need a spectacle to get hyped.
Not everybody uses Twitter. Not everybody uses Twitter.
Not everybody uses Twitter, but I mean, plenty of people are on YouTube. Plenty of, the news it's everywhere. All the news journalists write about it. You don't, so you're going to find out about it one way or another.
Well, E3 gets actual news coverage beyond the internet. You know that, right?
Yes, but all the same news journalists that are writing about E3 write about everything else outside of E3. You're going to get the news the same way.
You know,
IGN,
no,
Kotaku, they write about all the same stuff.
You're still talking about hardcore gamers who are on the internet. The E3 gets news coverage on the local news channels. The other shows do not, for the most part.
You can still get these things on your local news stuff. They can go and pay for ad space, and put and they put billboards up. They put posters up. I mean, Sony did a lot of ad promotion on stuff in New York City. Everybody knew about Spider-Man, even if you're not on the internet. Okay, there's other ways you can get people with marketing. So no, you don't need to be on local news to know about it. I mean, you walk outside, you see a billboard, you're gonna know about it.
And you don't think that's expensive, really?
It is expensive, but they're spending way more at E3.
Get a billboard in Times Square.
Yeah, billboard in Times Square is cheaper than that E3.
You just blew your E3 budget out the window.
They spend more at E3. They spend more at E3. They spend way more at E3.
Great points. Well, great points all around from both people here. I would love this discussion debates. Great stuff. Axel.
So E3 seems to have two people on it. You got the gamers, us, that just want the games. All we care about is show me the games, get me hyped up, give me the spectacle. And, for the most part, some conferences do that, right? And then you have the journalists who say it was a big mistake that they ever opened E3 to the public. They should have kept it as a journalist-only event because we got more information that way, especially to write. They got to try out more games in line, and now they have to wait in the same lines as the general public for demos and whatnot. So they cover it less or not as efficiently. So you have E3 from two points of view. One view that's saying, yeah, I want it to be more gamer centric, and what gamers care about is the games. Take-Two did a conference, and it was basically just information investor style, and it was kind of funny to see the reactions on this because a lot of people on the Twitterverse pretend to be investors, but they can't sit through an actual investor style presentation, right? And Take-Two was basically just saying, okay, here's what we're doing, here's where we're going, this is why, this is the kind of engagement we're seeing, this and this and that, and there was like almost no games. It was just information. Now, if you're a journalist, you love that kind of stuff. If you're an investor, you love that kind of stuff. But if you're a gamer, you hate that kind of stuff. So is E3 relevant or irrelevant to us? I think E3 needs to be restructured. Maybe have certain days for the general public and then certain days for just the way it used to be. Pure journalistic style stuff. And
the press should go first, and the press should be allowed in before the general public is.
Yeah, absolutely. Or press doors open at 7:00 and general public doors open at 12:00 after lunch or something. That would be kind of cool. I personally don't think E3 should go away. I do think it needs to be restructured and needs to re-identify itself because right now it's this mishmash of trying to mesh gamers and journalists together, knowledge, and you have kind of like, oh, Xbox is great, but Take-Two was awful, right?
Right.
Whereas if it was the other way, no, it wouldn't be that. So I think E3 just needs to restructure itself. Is it dead? I think the way it used to be is definitely dead and not needed and not appreciated. Certainly not appreciated. But it does need to restructure itself. And I agree with both Terry and Paul. E3 has a reach. E3 is a spectacle. Journalists love E3 because it's a lot of information condensed. They don't have to go around it. I love E3 because of all the game showcases.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think E3 is irrelevant, but I can see how some people have turned off from it. Yeah. And it definitely needs to be open to the public. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that E3 stays in Los Angeles. I understand it has all the venues and all that stuff, but maybe
Yeah.
a traveling E3, like the traveling XO event, would be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, those are my thoughts on E3.
I love that. Love the restructuring aspect brought in there.
Can I
Scrubs. Sorry. What was that, Terry?
Is it okay if I interrupt and add real quick?
Yeah. Go right ahead.
The for the public thing, they did open it to the public in the past, and it was horrendous. The journalists and people who do the interviews, they could not get with these people to actually talk to them to get us the news because the public, it just filled up and they couldn't get in there. So it was a lot harder for the news outlets to do their jobs. And then there's also the issue when they had the public there was a lot more theft and things like that too. People are terrible at times, so like they're not going to be professional like the journalists are when they go to these events. People are going to go there, they're going to show up in cosplay, they're going to go drink and get drunk and get rowdy and misbehave. And
absolutely.
And those studios are coming there to show off their product, and they're expecting a professional setting, and they're not going to get that when it's open to the public because people abuse it.
Because people are people. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is why I said I think it needs to restructure, like maybe days 1, 2, and 3 for the public, or the other way around. Like days 1 and 2 for the journalists, and 2, 3, and 4 for the public, or something like that.
Yeah, if they could make like one day for public or something, at least 1 day for public, I think it'd be better. But yeah, that was the big thing where the studios hated it being open to the public because it just was too hard, and the journalists hated it even more. So
exactly.
Yeah, you have to find a balance.
Absolutely.
Let's bring Scrub in here. Scrub, how do you feel about E3? Relevant or irrelevant?
I'm going to say relevant for a couple of little bullet points and for some selfish reasons. I particularly have never been to E3, so I would like to go to one. Now, the points that were said earlier definitely valid, but I would say these companies, especially the bigger ones, PlayStation, Xbox, Microsoft, Nintendo, they spend a lot of money on these shows. But you also put that into your budget each year that you're going to spend that type of money. So if they blow out way more than they're supposed to, I blame that on them. That is their fault. They are a business. They're supposed to run it, their ship at a certain way. And if you're blowing out all your money for an E3, I think that's a you problem. Now, as far as the people, I would say kind of like Axel had mentioned, yes, have it where you can, then you have the fans come in, because I think, yes, the journalists can get to the people who they want to talk to. They can get the more exclusives that they can have more eyes on it. But I think it's also a little of gatekeeping. If nobody else is there, you can easily say, you have to come to our website to get this scoop on this with the dev that I talked to. I have a special video coming out on this, and you have locked down that information where you're the only person you can come to that way. So that's one point where I go with some of the journalists. Some of them are just, not all, they're just fighting it so they can gatekeep. And when they're gatekeeping, they can control and force the companies to do what they want. When you have journalists and the people there, okay, who are going to buy your games? Not the journalists. You do have to structure it a little bit more for the people and the fans that are going to buy your products. Now, I also do say that yes, there could be a problem with fans, and maybe say, oh, there's a problem, there's rowdy. That's going to happen with a lot of different things. I kind of like to look at E3 for a person who is big into movies, and when you want to see your big blockbuster Avengers movie, do you want to see it on your couch, on your iPad or TV, or do you want the full theater experience, the full surround sound, the popcorn, the lights dim, the people around you reacting to the same thing you're doing? I think that's what having E3, a physical site, does for your games, for your company, and bringing more hype. These YouTubers, along with the journalists, show their excitement, their reactions to what's great, what they like, and then that spreads through the community as well. And
Yeah.
it's almost like a bonding, like just like your favorite football game. Do you need to go to the football game to enjoy it? Yeah, you can watch it on TV, but to get that full surround experience, people like to be with other people, even folks who
Yeah.
are antisocial. They have their groups on the internet, so you're still being with people, just not physically touching. And I think that is a great thing. One thing I will say, as far as maybe changing venues, that might be a little bit harder, only for a couple of things. There's a reason why the Super Bowl has been in New Orleans for more than any other city all through the NFL's history, because the where the location is. You have the Superdome in the middle. You have all the restaurants right around there. You have the convention centers and everything, all in walking distance, all right in a mile and a half or less radius.
Mm-hmm.
It will be harder to do a lot of these venues to have, we have E3 is going to be in this convention center. Okay, our post party is here. We're going to have Microsoft going to talk to journalists and studios here, and you're ending up bouncing all over the city, because a lot of times these cities aren't set up where there's 15 venues stacked up right around each other. And a thing, just think with the E3 they have now, just to do the main E3 and then go to Microsoft Studio, you're crossing busy streets with a lot of traffic, a lot of people moving around. You start slowing up the city itself, which they're a big city and they're kind of used to it, but it's closer in. You don't have to take an Uber across the street. If you did the same thing in Dallas, it would be a nightmare, just because everything's just so spread off from around each other. I do think that E3 has relevance. If you look at the last couple video performances or presentations that's been shown to us lately, especially let's just look at Xbox. It's the best one they've had. You could say some of them were horrible. You can say some of the little Xbox here, we're going to do this this month and show you a little showcase. A lot of them fell flat on their face. PlayStation the same way. Nintendo, some of them were great, some of them not. So I think until it will go, I think eventually all digital. I don't think they're ready for it. These digital showcases not set for prime time. Just the fact that you have to watch the whole show, spend an hour, 2 hours, and then once you finish the 2 hours, you have to go back and rewatch it again just so you can get a higher bit rate and to see it maybe in 4K or to see it in 1080p without a bunch of jittering and stuttering. Shows us right now that digital is not ready. Why do I have to watch a show multiple times just to get the true experience? But if I was at the show, I get the true experience with the fans, journalists, the people that that are part of the company that I look to, and being able to see how great that is right then and there as a gathered experience. So as long as digital is trying to play catch up and they're trying to do better with their presentations to keep the fans engaged, to keep the eyes looking on them, I think that a personal in-person E3 is still needed. And the fact that they announced that next year is going to be in person, and then a lot of these folks that said, oh, it's not needed, all of a sudden are so reinvigorated and wanting to go back in person. I think with COVID and knocking it out also has shown that a lot of people miss it, and showing how much more important it was. It's one of those, you don't know what you got until it's gone. And I think some of these shows digitally have kind of showed that, yes, we do still need E3.
Absolutely. Great comments from everybody here. But we're going to end off with Graphic God before I have to say my two piece. So, Graphic God, Jay, you're up on deck, sir. How do you feel about E3, man? Do you think it's still relevant or needs to go the way of the dodo bird?
A lot of great opinions here, and I would listen to everybody, and it kind of influenced how I feel about it. Initially, I've never been to an E3, and do I envy seeing people that I know going to E3 and seeing pictures and videos and all that stuff and being in those crowds? I kind of do envy that. I like the social interaction there. Do I think some of these companies can give the same message by just putting out a video? Probably not, because when you're on a stage, they're controlling the message. When they put out some kind of an interpretation of what they want to have, the media outlets can all interpret it the way they want to, and then the next thing you know, it's put into a negative light or a positive light. But when you're there and you're seeing that firsthand, it's like, wow, it's the spectacular spectacle of it all. Same with going to a concert, and I'm going to relate this to concerts. I've been to a lot, and I've been to probably over 100 concerts in my lifetime, and enjoyed being there. Just being in the crowd, the smell in the air. There's smoke. There's everything that's happening on the stage, and it all adds to the experience that you don't get when you're watching it on a video. As just an example, everyone might know I'm a big metal guy, and Metallica did their symphony concert it was like last year or the year before, and it was gorgeous to watch, gorgeous to listen to. But me watching the video, and even in 4K, it was terrific. But knowing that if I was sitting in that audience, experiencing that, it would have taken me to a whole different level. So I have two minds of the whole situation. Do I think E3 is relevant? I don't know if it's 100% relevant for them to get news out, but for that wow factor, I think it is relevant. And the idea that you're going to be meeting people you've never met before, that you may have been speaking with for years. I mean, a lot of people find that very attractive. I mean, I know, for instance, if I was down in LA, there are 2 or 3 people I can say I'm going to make sure that I meet in person. Yeah. And to me, you can't put money on that. That's a one-on-one experience with someone that you've never met in person and you have a relationship with. But basically, that's my opinion. I mean, everyone here had very valid points, and I understand everyone's feelings on it all. Personally, I'm kind of in the middle about it all. But would I like that personal interaction? 100%, I would.
Totally. So great. The fan aspect is huge there for Jay, and I think it is for a lot of people. So let's catch up with the chat here real quick, because our brother from the NLG podcast, Mr. Mike Mullis, is in the house. What's going on? Joe Dunmore is here. Joe Dunmore, what's going on? Cable Grant's still hanging out with us as well. DE, what's happening? Kylo Milo, thanks for being here as well. Jago Kukin's still hanging out with us today. Thanks, Jago. Fastback's in the house. Pure Flack Monkey, Apex, what's going on? T-Rock 40, thanks for being here, guys. Great people. And even in the chat as well, there's some great feedback coming back and forth. I'm just going to chime in and say it like this, and I got a couple things I want to say. It's still relevant, in my opinion. Is it as relevant as it used to be? Perhaps not. And I think that largely because back in the day, there was way less coverage of these events. So, you got it from several sources, and that's it. Now these events are being covered by not only the media, but influencers and Twitch streamers and you name it. There's so much different types of coverage here where you're getting your information from a lot of different sources. And not to mention that over the past few years too, that one time it was basically the biggest show was E3. And then there was a few other, like the Tokyo Game Show or Gamescom. There was like 2 or 3 throughout the year that generally the biggest and brightest companies came to the stage to show. Now that's not so much anymore, because now we see Nintendo does Direct, and EA does usually their own thing, and then of course Microsoft's got their Xbox on, and there's so many different shows that have changed a lot in the last 10 years, in the last 5 in particular. So that's why it feels like E3 doesn't have the same impact, and that's why I think some of these companies look at it, and like Terry did mention, it is very expensive to go there. But here's the other side. The gaming industry is bigger than the movie business. The gaming industry is one of the biggest industries on the planet. It's closing in on $1 trillion industry. These are multi-billion-dollar companies in most cases that are putting these things on. Here's one of the suggestions. Axel said about the restructuring. Here's how I would restructure partly. I would, instead of doing things on a small scale theater, is you go and you rent a giant ass stadium, something that fits 70,000 fans in there. You pack it in, you get them for different days, and you make sure that everybody brings a really good show to the table. That's just on the ESA to do that, to bring people together and make sure this stuff is congruent, so that it's not just kind of like, somebody shows up with one little video. Like, there needs to be some congruency here, some sort of sense of, coming together. And what you do is you get the big stage, and yes, that's going to be costly in itself, but it just, then it'll bring everybody in, way more fans get to come in and be a part of the show. And you could even charge a small admission. I'm not talking tons of money, but what you could do is charge some type of admission where the bulk load of those admission fees, part of that goes to especially the smaller developers who chose to come out and be part of this show to spend, because obviously for a small developer, spending $1 million for them is not the same as Microsoft spending $5 million. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so they could go back to developers. They could put it back into parts of the show to make it bigger and better, and sort of spread out the wealth, like a WrestleMania, like D says in the chat. What's wrong with that idea? Nothing at all. And then it comes together one stage. It's not like Microsoft trying to upscale this show over here and this guy trying to upscale this show over here. Everybody's kind of using the same screens, more or less the same format, and then let the games do the talking. From the fans' perspective, fans need to start going in with an open mind and being genuinely excited again. It seems like a lot of people go in with predetermined BS or agendas going into these shows, and instead of watching games and being excited and enjoying them, they're going in going, what can I pick out in this show that I can tear down in my videos? They got to get rid of that crap. Like, gamers, be excited. It's games. Sure, there's disappointment. I get it. But it feels like there's agendas. It feels like it's like setting yourself up for disappointment. Like, if you avoid a restaurant because you think you won't like it, you've never tasted the cuisine, right? So you're walking in immediately. If you go to this restaurant, you sit down and you're like, I don't think I'm going to like the food here. I don't like the smell of this place and look at it, but you didn't try the food. How can you grade it? And that's kind of what you got. It's like predetermined disappointment. And you get that with sometimes at kids at Christmas. Well, I don't think I'm getting my favorite gift this year, so this Christmas just sucks. And there's a lot of that crap. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that need to happen. I think it's still it could be more relevant. I think it's losing it because not everybody's on board. That's the problem. Like back in the day when it was Nintendo, Sony, Sega, all these big companies were out there shining their brightest. It made the shows awesome. And now, but the fact that people are not coming out for whatever reason they choose to, whether it's money or timing, and I get it, you can do a million other shows and do them all in your station and still drive the traffic. But like I said, a lot of people don't want to be on that stage to get against each other because it's like your boxing events where you got your highlight reel and then you got your entry level fighters or whatever coming out. And I think people are trying to avoid that side by side comparison. Well, how can we beat that? This is a big company. They got 30 games. We got like 5. So, but you know what? That is what it is. That's part of the industry. You're either going to have a big show or a small show. Maybe you stagger your content. Maybe you make sure that you stagger, and that we're seeing that with Xbox right now, where they're actually technically staggering the content so that the shows down the road are more relevant in the future. They're not just trying to put everything in one big conglomerate and go, swallow this, and now we got nothing to show you. That's kind of where Sony went wrong a few years ago, is that instead of staggering their content, back in 2016 through 18, they basically put everything into the shows, blew people's minds, all these games. But guess what happened? The well ran dry, and there was a big gap between the releases as they showed the same game over, and they showed the same game over. How many times did we hear that? And then we were preaching on Microsoft, don't do the same thing. And that's what Phil was trying to avoid, trying to say, well, we don't want to show a game 4 years out because we're going to show it to you in 18. We're going to show it to you in 19. We'll show it to you in 20. And fans, after a while, you're like, yeah, dude, we've seen it already. Like, when's the game coming out? So you got to be very careful about how you stagger the content. And you, Scrub, you pointed out the fan aspect. And this is the other part. Don't forget the fans. I know there's millions of us that can't be at the shows, and I get it, and that's just a fact of life. Jago in the chat said maybe you move the show to different cities, and that could be an option. to bring them different places, which would be probably a phenomenal idea, and see how it goes. But that's all part and the parcel. So somewhere along the lines, the big companies got to sit down with the ESA, they got to sit down with the media journalists, and they really need to figure out how can we still make this show a big spectacle. I mean, the movie industry does it. That's the thing. The movie industry doesn't make as much as the games industry, but guess what? They still do their cans, they still do their film festivals, they still do all these things. And why? Because it's promotion. At the end of the day, it's marketing. It's almost free marketing, because you might spend $1 million to set up your show, but how many people are talking about your products afterwards? The influencers that talk about your game that probably never going to got as much talked about because it's on the biggest spectacle stage of the year. This is the thing. You have forget that. So there's a million reasons. Like I said, I get it. What's making it irrelevant is the fact there's so many people doing their own show, and they're doing their own way of presenting the games. And this is largely on these companies. Like the people that choose not to go to the show and do their own thing, you're taking it away. Now, what the reasons are, I don't know, but that's part of the thing. They all got to be together. This is the shows don't work. People say, well, the show doesn't matter without Sony. It matters about everybody. It's not Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo. When they're not there representing, and especially when you're part of the biggest ones, you're the guy like Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. What's the common denominator? They are the console providers. They provide you the platforms. They should be there because that's the people that ultimately are making the most money. And these are the people that have to sell the indies too. Remember when indies were a huge, big part of the spotlight, and then it seems like it goes on a whim now. It kind of like, it fits into our program this year, but next year we got so many AAAs that indies can take a seat to the backside. So like it's all these people got to come together. That's what I think the shows could be even bigger than they used to be, but it's the way they do it. And this has to come from the ESA, has to come from the organizers, and they got to get together to figure it. This year, like I said, last 2 years, almost a write-off because COVID happened and a lot of people just weren't ready. And right now they're probably very busy trying to build their games and catch up to the lost work, instead of worrying, well, how do we do a trailer for this game or present it in the proper way? But, Cliffy B just the other day too, he showed off a video, one of his proudest moments, he said, was Epic Games when he showed off Gears of War 2006 up on that stage demoing it. And it's my hair stands up on my arms right now just thinking about how cool that was and what a game-defining moment, not just for him, but for me as a fan and Gears of War, what that means to me. And again, there's just something about the E3 stage, as we call it, the gamers' Christmas. It's the media Christmas because it's literally for 3 weeks after E3, people are still talking about shit at E3. No other show does that like E3 presentation. Everybody's going to have their take on it. And everybody here did a phenomenal job of presenting your absolute points. And that's just my take. I'll leave it at that. I love E3s. I get excited for them. I hope they don't go away, but it is a fact of the business. And you know what? They just might. If more companies keep pulling out and we keep seeing the Ubisofts and the EAs and different people doing their own shows, I mean, it can't really be E3 in the way we want it if it's just Microsoft running the whole damn show, at the end of the day. And any further thoughts before we kind of get out of here? I think I did my preaching.
Did we catch Paul's thought on this?
We did, yeah. I'm pretty sure, but I'll add him back in case he's got a few more things. He's been sitting in the back, so I'm just gonna pop him up and pop him back in. Any further thoughts from the panel here?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm gonna do it too.
I think we're pretty good. I did want to add, because I can't remember who it was. Somebody had added in the chat that the good thing about E3 is the public can go and visit and see and talk and know the different studios. And a lot of these studios, a lot of people don't know about it, or maybe they just don't actively look into it. They do tours. Like Ubisoft actually does a lot of different tours at a lot of their different studios, like the one in Montreal, for example. They even let schools come in and just visit. So you literally can get that hands-on without E3.
Yeah, except you have to go to the studio, and they're spread all over the world. E3,
which is better than going to California. I mean, people are already complaining they can't go to California. So I mean, the studios are in multiple locations.
That's ridiculous.
If you go to
California, you get access to 50 studios. You go to California one time a year, you get access to 50 studios. Where you can talk to the devs.
Or a lot of the times you're going to go to E3 because you only want to see maybe 1 or 2 studios.
Well, that's on, but okay. That's ridiculous. If you're going to do that, then yeah, that's fine. But if you want to have access to more than 2 or 3 studios, or you don't want to go to Quebec, You know, go to California, you have access to 20, 30, 40 studios.
Yeah, but
including
there's a lot of
Microsoft.
studios available depending on where you are. I mean, if you're in Texas, there's a lot of studios in Texas. You can get a lot of that hands-on just in Texas. A lot more than you would if you can't go to, California. There's a lot of studios in Canada. I mean, and a lot of Canadians aren't
Okay.
going to want
You know how
to,
much it
get a
would-
passport to go to California.
I can't even go to Canada right now. None of us can. Well, unless you
Yeah,
live there
and they
already.
can't come to E3 in California either.
No, not now. But what I'm saying is, it's a lot harder for one person to travel to Canada than it is for them to go to California for a weekend and have access to 20, 30, 40
I
studios.
feel it's equally hard for everybody outside of the U.S. to go to
Wow.
E3 than to visit something that might be in their country.
Hey, you don't want to come up here and ride on the moose, eh?
Again, you're saying it's equally as hard to go to a place where there's 50 studios available than where there's one.
When
Okay,
you're
that-
talking about how majority of gamers aren't just in America, we have gamers all over the world, and if
My God.
E3 is always exclusive to California and the U.S., that means most
You're-
of the
you're-
gamers
you're
outside
still-
the
you're-
U.S. are
you're
never
still
going to
not
get to
getting
go.
it. You're still not getting it. You're still not getting it. One
I mean,
time
I
a year,
feel, people in France or, in, the Middle East and other places are going to want to have an event like that. They don't get one.
So
America
it's better
gets
to,
one.
So it's better to keep everybody separated, and if they want to go to a studio,
I
they
mean,
go to that one
I
studio.
mean, you literally were arguing about From Software, excluding people. EA is literally excluding people outside of the U.S.
What?
Well,
Oh my God.
look at
ESA,
sports. If you got the UEFA championships are in Europe every year. If you're American and you want to go to the championship, you have to go there because that's where it's held.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the Super Bowl and you live in, I don't know, India, guess where you have to go if you want to be there? You have to go to the United States.
And a
you
lot
can-
of people
you-
just
you-
can't travel out of their country.
which is true, but that's why E3 isn't for everyone to go there. They will never have a place
Which
that
is
can
why
hold
we-
It's
Yes,
hold
which is why we
everybody.
argued that they
it's
should
like-
go to
it's
more
like-
locations.
It's like any other
TwitchCon.
industry convention.
Right.
It's like any other industry convention is what it is.
Yeah,
It's-
and a
it's-
lot of them have expanded. TwitchCon goes to more than just California. Now they're over in Europe. PAX goes to more than just Seattle. Comic-Con is in more than just San Diego and New York. I mean, you can expand. E3 is one of the biggest conventions in the world, and they haven't expanded.
Each Comic-Con is run by a separate company, just so you know.
This is
That's
true.
why they have their
Yes,
own
this is
separate game
true,
shows.
but
Tokyo
it's
Game
still-
Show, Gamescom.
It's still the same, but still, they've still found ways to expand.
They-
They're still letting other people use that branding of Comic-Con.
CashCon, as they call it.
Yeah, I think each generalized area in this world has their own con when it comes to gaming as well. So the same people who are in Japan who can't make it to E3 will get a vast majority of those studios in Tokyo when it's time for their show. Same with Gamescom, which is like in the chat, which is bigger than E3. I'm not going, well, Gamescom should make it easier for me to be able to make it to Gamescom because I live in America. You can have the same argument back and forth on that. It's for the people in that area, and if you have the right amount of money to get there, then that's good for you to be able to travel. But for the folks who can't, we have a digital show for you. It's the same thing with E3. We can set it up where we have the fans can come, where we can have journalists can come. And if you're a fan who can't make it because it's expensive, because there's travel, because you might need a passport, guess what? We have the digital show for you. And you see the same video that the people who went there saw. The only thing you don't get is the handshaking and dapping your favorite person that you've been meaning to see, who you've been talking on Twitter, but you're not excluded from that. The only thing that will hurt with the E3 versus a digital show when you want to go play games, it'll be really hard to sit there and say all these games everybody wanted to try. You can try it digitally, just pop up yes, but they tried it. And what happened there was a lot of problems. They haven't worked out the kinks. So my thing is, as long as you having problems and kinks with your digital shows, with your digital workout, where you're doing everything digital, it is still good. You have a fallback on E3. And the folks who can't make it, the folks who can't afford, the folks who is logistically impossible to do it, you still have that digital show, and you still get your game spots, your IGNs who are given their thoughts and views. You can watch that too, along with the main show, just like if you went there in person.
The other thing about if you make multiple E3s in your sky, then you're also dividing the companies. They need to decide, okay, which one are we going to go to, because they're not going to go to all of them. Microsoft doesn't travel to all the PAXs. You know, they don't. You know, they go to the thing. They go to the thing in London because it's the biggest one out there. But they don't necessarily go to every show that they possibly could, because it's not financially feasible even for Microsoft to send people out there.
Well, I'm glad professional sports teams don't treat their leagues like people treat E3s, where it's kind of like, yeah, we don't have the budget, we don't have the manpower to really show up this year, because heck, a lot of sports teams be like, dude, we don't have the money to pay all these players. We got the worst roster in history. We're pretty much going to have a losing season off the get-go. So let's just skip it all together. We'll come back in 4 years when we think we're good enough.
Heck,
And then we'll put a team on
the Raiders go to London every year. They lose a lot, but they
oh shit, man!
You know, it's funny you say that,
because
I'm a huge Denver Broncos fan, right? And I'm in Texas. And this year, and I've been to Broncos games when I lived in Colorado at Mile High, and it's a great feeling to high five somebody when we scored a touchdown and yell and get all this excitement going. It definitely hits different. But since I moved to Texas, I haven't been to a football game. I watch them on TV and I get excited and I jump up and down on my couch, all that good stuff, right? But this year, the Broncos are coming to play the Cowboys, and I am buying a ticket, and I cannot wait.
You need to go to
definitely
AT&T
hits
Stadium.
different being there.
AT&T Stadium is amazing, dude. Wait till you see
I've
it.
never been. I've been to the old Cowboy Stadium. I think it was called, or was it called Texas Stadium? Whatever.
Yeah, I was there 2 years before they tore it down. So I've been to both stadiums. Yeah, they're night and day.
I've never been to the new one yet, but no reason. Hey, Fast Guy, how are you?
How does the panel feel about the idea that I threw out there, like getting a giant football stadium and doing E3 in the one venue, and then of course having slight ticket sales for fans that want to go, and then putting it back to the companies, like not the big corporate guys, but especially sharing it out to the smaller ones that spend a lot of money and dedication to go there. What do you think of that?
That makes it more like a floor convention, and that could work. You would still have to have separate areas so press could do their thing.
And I think you need separate areas anyway, just like you have your PlayStation show before, you had your Xbox show. If you have everybody in the big stadium, that just gives chance, because it's going to happen. Toxic fans, because they're sitting for the show for PlayStation, or they might be sitting for the show Xbox, but they have to sit through another studio, and then if they don't like it, boo. And and I would not like, I like how they have like a Hall H with Con, and if you want to go in to see this specific thing, go, but then you have all these other rooms talking about other different things, and you can make your choices to go. But if everything was getting all on one big screen, all right, next coming up is such and such, I just don't trust people.
You could have tiered tickets too, because basically you could also, like, that would discourage, like, say if you only wanted to go to one show, so your ticket would cost you $5, but if you wanted to go to see Xbox, Sony, and something else, you'd have to pay like a tiered level. So you'd have to pay for, like, say maybe $15 or $20, because now you want to see multiple shows to go in there. And you start weeding out people that don't really care about certain shows. You know what I mean? Just not letting everybody in. You just up the fees.
Yep, and they could put some of the smaller developers up on the concourses where they could get the attention they deserve.
Absolutely.
People are walking
You want to
through
know? So, being an older gamer, I've known about E3 since I was little because of the gaming magazines. The EGMs, the Game Pros, all that stuff.
Right.
But I didn't know what a spectacle it was until G4 TV did basically like 5 days of nonstop coverage of E3 and everything, and all the developer interviews were on there, and they had their own stage and all this stuff. And and this is to Terry's point that not everybody has Twitter. Oh yeah, you can watch the Xbox show on YouTube or wherever, but you don't really get the E3 spectacle without being there. And to me, the being there, the great, like, oh my God, E3 is actually a big deal, much bigger than I thought, was that TV coverage. And I think that's what E3 needs. It needs, like, I know that E3 has its own YouTube channel now that you could just watch, and that's what I did. But I think a big reason why E3 has kind of fallen out of relevance is that it doesn't have that big coverage from a network like G40 TV used to give it. Because I'll tell you, I was there for Adam Sessler and Kevin Pereira and Morgan Webb and all those people doing all their interviews, and they would have them up on the stage up higher than everybody, and they would show the crowds how big they were, all that good stuff. It was just it was on a different level then than it is now.
And the internet has destroyed some of that because it's so much easier to just drop a video and then put a tweet out. Hey, check out at 11 o'clock. We're going to drop gameplay of such and such and such and such. So it's kind of a back and forth thing with the Internet of Things and the World Wide Web. Yes, it's going to make anything in person a lot different.
Well, one of the good things we should be grateful for is not going to E3 is that we don't have to smell Brad breath and armpits by anybody, right?
Thank God. Same with
gamer sweat.
Hey, try being at my level. It's all acids and elbows and adult skin. Okay, I'm just saying.
I heard that one time from a guys at E3. He's like, yeah, it wasn't. I didn't miss the smell or something. He's like, of the BO and this, that, as I'm sitting down in the chair, you know what I mean? Or those rambunctious fans that are yelling at everything either. Like, every little thing's like, and you're just like, shut up, man. Like, holy mackerel. Like, guys getting excited over the Sony PlayStation flute guy. Look at that guy. He's just playing the flute. Oh!
It's like, dude, is this the first time you've seen a female on a stage? Shut up.
Yes. Oh, my God, man. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, so we're going to end it off there. I think a fantastic discussion. We could probably be here another hour, and everybody had amazing points on this. This was a fire discussion. I love this stuff, man. This is when everybody just brings it to the table, gets very passionate about what we're into. But no matter how you feel about it, games are here to stay, and you enjoy them however you feel like you want to enjoy them. Whether you want to spend money to go see your favorite companies, or you want to stay at home and watch them from the convenience of your couch on your YouTube channel, whatever. It is your money, your say. I'm just glad, like I said, the games are here to stay, and they're doing great business. And like I said, they might have to do some refining, but hopefully there's still a place out there for this stuff. So we're gonna let everybody try to get out of here, because I know, like I said, we're on. Well, geez, we're almost 3 hours on the show again. Holy diner, that is crazy. Yeah. Yes. Yep. All right. So let's let everybody get out of here. I will start with Scrub. We'll start with our guest and let him get out of here, and let him let people know where they can find him, and I'll pop his stuff up on the screen here. Mr. Graphic God, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you today. Glad you could be our very first ever guest on Good Morning Xbox. Very fitting, as I said, since you've pretty much been a part of our lives almost since we got into this racket. So for that, we're forever grateful. So go ahead, Jay. Let people know where they can catch up with you, or perhaps get some amazing artwork done by you, sir.
Well, just to start off, the honor is mine. The fact that you've invited me on your show is a big privilege for me, and I appreciate you even thinking about me. So thank you. If you're trying to hit me up for gamer picks, you can go to xboxgamerpicks.com, and I have a website that you can check out the details of things, and hit me up on Twitter at graphic_god. And I'll set you up. I do gamer picks, I do intros, I do banners. I dabble. I even do overlays. So I dabble in a little bit of everything. Also, I have a show on Tuesday nights called Retro Renegades. And Retro Renegades, so what we are is we're a consortium of intelligent individuals that get together weekly to discuss politics, religion, science, and world issues. Okay, so if you're into that, come to Retro. I'm just joking. We're just a bunch of men babies that sit around playing old games, drinking beer,
you lost me at
spewing
intelligent.
profanity.
Yeah, you lost me at intelligent.
We're man babies that play old games and drink beer and spew profanity. So if you like that, Tuesday night, 7 p.m., hit us up. So thank you very much, Newf. I appreciate you inviting me, man.
Anytime, my Canadian brother. Oh, hell, Jay. All right. Speaking of Hail and Jay, Axel comes in with a $5 super chat. Our own very own panel members throwing it down. He drops $5. A shout out to our first guest, that graphic god. All hail Jay. Yes, well, indeed. So keep up the great work, Jay, man. Keep gaming. Keep doing what you do on Retro Renegades, man. As we've learned here, whether you got 5 viewers, you got 100 viewers, whatever it might be, everybody is important. And we know who the real people are, right? That's the main thing. So keep it real. Keep working hard, man. And we love what you do. So appreciate you being here. All right. So let's get into our next member. We got to get Scrub in here. Mrs. Scrub, the floor is yours, sir. Let people know where they can catch up with you. Check out any content you got coming down the pipe, all of that good stuff, sir. Are you there?
Yeah. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I hit the wrong button, I think. But thank you for everybody who came, hung out with us. I think it was a great show. We had great topics. I love the back and forth banter. I just feel like I'm part of a podcast and chat at the same time now. I love just seeing everybody in here and talking back and forth. You can catch me on Twitter, ScrubNurse3. You can check my gamer tag on Xbox. Please feel free to add me. That'll be all cap Scrub space nurse. You can catch me on Facebook where I stream the Bayou Elite. And then on Twitch, it is Scrub_nurse. So I'm dealing with some little audio problems with my streaming. So hopefully I'll get this figured out in the next day or so, and then I'll be back streaming regularly. Just glad to have y'all with you. It's a great show. Thank y'all.
There you have it. Go check them out. Next up, we got Mr. Axel 1324. I'm ready to close the door on another show. Axel, let people know where they can check out what you got going on.
All right. Thank you so much. You can catch me on Xbox, Twitter, and I already forgot my own stuff. Xbox and Twitter, Axel1324. You can catch me on YouTube and Twitch at Axel1324 Gaming. Make sure you add that gaming on there. I'm dropping videos every week on just topics. I did a quick recap of some of my favorite shows this E3. Make sure you give that a look. And I am back to streaming every Saturday co-ops with my friends. This week yesterday we streamed some Valheim, and we kind of got into a little bit of trouble where we just continuously got into the cycle of dying, and it was incredibly frustrating. So if you want to see me play a game very flustered, go check that stream out. That's all I got.
Well, that was plenty. All righty, let's get over to our next panel member. Hopefully he's still in the room and see the microphones on pause. We got Eternal Shaddai. Shaddai, let people know where they can check you out if you're still there.
Oh no, I'm here. It just the reason why I have this icon is, first of all, it was a great pleasure to meet Graphic God, and the reason why I posted this is one of his creations, and I really love it. Even though he gave me, he created also the animation one, which I cannot post it here for some reason, but I would like to thank him personally for his creation. Now, for the goodbye, well, you can find me at Twitter at Eternal Shaddai. You can find me at Twitch at ETE Shaddai. My gamer tag is Eternal Shaddai, exactly as is posted down here. And also on Facebook Gaming, I do podcasting in Spanish called Mundo de Mancos. We are, other friends of mine. You can find me on all those platforms, and I'll see you next weekend.
Indeed, we will see you next weekend. We certainly hope so. All right, and next up we got the
after I had that technical difficulty, it's already been twice.
All right, we got the man who's the deals on wheels. Yes, it's Mr. Cerebral Paul. All right, Paul. I'll let people know where they can catch up with you. You're a busy guy these days.
You can find me here every Sunday, and you can also find me later Sunday, most of the time when he does it or when he doesn't move it, on the Flamish Experience. Wednesdays you can find me on Stubbscast, or not Stubbscast, but Midweek Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you can find me on Twitter at Cerebral Paul 1, on Twitch is Cerebral Paul, YouTube is Cerebral Paul, and just all over the place. I am getting in the process of moving, so I may or may not be around as much over the next week or two, But after I get moved at the beginning of July, just after the 4th, I will get settled down and start doing more content and stuff again once I get everything shifted over. So
Absolutely. Well, we wish you all the best in that move, Paul. Yeah, so we'll definitely be following you there and seeing how things are going. And to any panel member, if you just can't make a show, it's all cool, babes. We'll definitely we'll miss you, but we'll definitely we'll
by the way,
fill the boots.
keep an eye on August. I will be on a Canadian TV show that I can't remember the name of, but they did an interview for me for accessibility in gaming. So
Nice.
I've done multiple interviews over the last few months. And
Not
this is my
Electronic
first
Playground, is it?
televised one. Yeah, this is my first televised one.
Yeah, it's not Electronic Playground, is it?
No, nothing.
Oh, okay.
It has to do specifically with disability. He said they mostly focus on like hard of hearing and such, but they're trying to reach out. So not only do they have me here, but they want to have me on the radio show every once in a while too.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I see Jez Corden reached out to you as well.
Yeah,
from Windows Central.
Yep, and of course, if he's been under the weather this weekend, but we're trying to get something together with that as well. I have another interview tomorrow, as a matter of fact, with a different company. So yeah, I've been busy in the midst of all the chaos that is my life. I've been busy. So.
Yes, Paul, Mr. Chaotic these days. All right, well, good to catch up with you. All right, we'll see you next weekend. And last but not least, let's let Coolcat Terri get out of here. Terri, what you got going on? What's cooking?
All right, everybody, you can catch me over on Twitter. That's Coolcat_Terri. You'll find out lots of different variety there between me posting different indie games that are coming out. So you'll always be introduced to stuff. I'm sure a lot of you probably now are getting a lot more indie games on your feed that you weren't used to seeing. You're welcome. You can also check out my podcast called Just a Glimpse. I have the link right there. It's on Spotify and like Google Podcasts and all those good places too. If you want to just kind of listen in to my opinions on things that are definitely different from other people, so you can get it. I think it's refreshing because you do hear a lot of the same kind of rhetoric as you jump around on podcasts. So if you want to hear something a little different, even if you 100% disagree with me, at least you can have a little fun, hearing me, go on about something that you maybe not had thought about before. So it's always a good time. So check that out. I'm also on Twitch and Instagram and all the places as Coolcat Terri, and I stream Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. to midnight Eastern time. Friday, I do an earlier show from 2 to 6. And then Saturday is my community night where I do 6 to usually 10. Sometimes I go a little longer, but I try to end it by 10. Good stuff there. And also a quick reminder for those of you, don't forget to go into the comment section after we end the show. If you want to try your luck at getting Ari's and the Secret of Seasons, don't forget to do that. All right, like I said, you got until Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern time is when I'll look through all the names that actually did it, and I'll do the thing. So good luck.
Awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that again, that giveaway for that amazing game. You can catch that early part of the show when she did the Indie Spotlight if you didn't see the video of it already. And you guys know where to find me, always in the gutter. Mr. Boom Boom Kaboom is leaving the room. Check out, like I said, the description for everybody that you need is in the description on YouTube. So make sure that you go check them out. If you can at least get to their Twitter page, a lot of them have their links to their other shows and different things that they do there. So make sure you go check that out. And that's right. Follow these fine people. And I'll be back with these fine people again next weekend. And when I'm not with this crew, I am doing a little thing a little bit more adult with Gaming After Dark. That is on Tuesday evenings. We'll be back this week. We took a week off. I thought I'd let the panel kind of take it easy because a lot of podcast fatigue last week. And we just decided, hey, you know what? Let's just let everybody else just play some games, go check whatever else, and come back. And I was kind of wiped. I didn't even get to see a lot of podcasts last week, like people's opinions, not because I didn't want to, but because I had so many things going on at my house, trying to do chores and put together furniture, and you name it. I was a busy man last week, just wasn't gaming or podcast related, and been pretty crazy stuff. So great show today. Fire topics. That last one, whoo, boy, that was a good one. I had no idea when I was going to ask that question that we'd have so many great articulated points. Fantastic stuff. Wasn't Jacob Paul versus Terri round 1 today? Tune in next week for round 2. Great stuff, Jago. Good to see everybody here, guys, and the love for Graphic God. We'll let you get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And if you're a mom who happens to be a dad, if you're living by yourself, well, you know what? We'll consider you a dad as well.
Yes.
If you're raising your kids on your own, because I know there's a lot of single moms out there that they got to do both chores. So kudos to everybody. Hope you enjoy the day with your kids. Go celebrate, have some cake, whatever it might be. Go play some video games, and we'll see you all again next week.
See you guys
everybody.
later. Bye.
Oh, and lastly, like I said, Crazy Greek Dude is dropping, like I said, some Game Pass things. So we're going to give you the details, hopefully by next week's show. That is a 6-month Game Pass code to give away, and we'll probably do that on the 4th. So we'll catch up with you guys then. Until then, take care, everybody. Sorry for the second outro.
Anthony.